Good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. on Thursday, the 17th of September. My name is Councillor Jackie Smith and I'm the Chairman of the Council. Welcome to this virtual meeting of South Casterband District Council. I'd like to begin by welcoming all councillors and officers and also those members of the press and public who are joining our meeting today. This is the Council's annual meeting. Ordinarily, we would be holding this meeting in May, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government, as part of the local authorities, police and crime disposal, made regulations providing councils to either not hold an annual meeting or to hold the annual meeting later in the year. We made the decision to postpone our annual meeting until September in the hopes that we would be able to have more people together to celebrate this important ceremonial occasion for the council. Unfortunately, the pandemic continues to overshadow us, and with restrictions once again increasing, this has not been made possible. As we begin today's proceedings, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that the meeting is being recorded. For any councillor who hasn't already done so, I would like to ask that you turn on your cameras now. Please can I also ask you to turn off any telephones or put them onto silent mode and to remove any possible distractions. Any councillor who wishes to speak should use the chat function and type a comment such as "me, speak" or "next." Members of the public are asked not to use this chat function. If any member of the public does post a comment in the chat box, they will be given a warning. If they post for a second time, they will be removed from the meeting. When invited to speak, you should turn on your microphone. Please do your best to remember to mute your microphone once you have finished speaking. Should you forget, we will be able to mute for you. The length of time for speeches remains at 5 minutes. You will be warned when you have 30 seconds left and when your time is up. Can I also ask that members indicate through the chat function if they are intending to leave the meeting? Wherever we can through this meeting, we will use voting by exception, where councillors will be asked to type against or abstain in the chat box. It will be taken that anybody who does not type against or abstain is voting in favour of the proposition. The only occasions we will be using a roll call vote will be if a recorded vote is requested, or if, when we are making appointments, the number of nominations exceeds the number of places available. In this instance, members will be asked to say the name of the nominees that they wish to see appointed. I will ask the Chief Executive to help guide us through the voting procedure that we will use as we work through the agenda. Can I now please ask Naomi, the Democratic Officer, to confirm the presence of all members who are in attendance at the meeting. Where a member doesn't respond, she will move on to call the next member. Once the list has been completed, the names of any member for whom no response was received will be recalled. Where there is still no response, that member will be recorded as having not attended.
Madam Chairman, it's the Chief Executive here, Cam Bradford. Can we just hold just for a minute? We have a number of members struggling to hear or can't be heard. So I know Councillor Stevens, Councillor Susan Sandal, Councillor Smith are all having difficulties. I think Councillor Steptoes is now sorted. But can we just wait, just 2 minutes, please, just to make sure all members can have access to hearing and able to speak. Thank you.
Karen. Oh, do I also do the end? I've done it. Yeah. Sorry.
Madam Chairman, we have put a notification in the conversation in the chat box. I'm not getting any responses now with any connectivity issues. So I propose, Madam Chairman, if you would like to call for the roll call through the Democratic Services Officer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll go through the roll call now. Councillor Bob Adams.
Present.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Present.
We've received apologies from Councillor David Bellamy. Councillor Harish Bisnath Singh.
Present.
Councillor Mrs Pam Bosworth.
Present.
Councillor Bob Broughton.
Present.
Councillor George Chivers.
Present.
Councillor Louise Clack. Councillor Clack. Okay, I'll come back.
Present. Sorry, I was struggling with microphone there. Sorry about that, Naomi.
No problem, thank you. Councillor Callum Cook.
Present.
Councillor John Cottier.
Present.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Present.
Councillor John Dawson.
Present.
Councillor Phil Dilks.
Present.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
Present.
Councillor Mike Exton.
Present.
Councillor Paul Fellows.
Present.
Councillor Helen Gorrell.
Present.
Councillor Breda Griffin.
Present.
Councillor Jan Hansen. Councillor Jan Hansen.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Graham Gill.
Present.
Councillor Gloria Johnson.
Present.
Councillor Mrs Rosemary Cabery Brown. Councillor Cabery Brown. I'll come back to Councillor Cabery Brown. We've received apologies from Councillor Anna Kelly. Councillor Jane Kingman. Councillor Kingman. I'll come back to Councillor Kingman as well. Councillor Philip Knowles.
Present.
Councillor Matthew Lee.
Present.
We've received apologies from Councillors Manterfield and Mason. Councillor Penny Milnes.
Present.
Councillor Virginia Moran.
Present.
Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Present.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
Present.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Present.
Councillor Nick Robbins.
Present.
Councillor Susan Sandal. Councillor Sandal. I'll come back to Councillor Sandal. Councillor Ian Selby.
Present.
Thank you. thrown me, sorry. Councillor Jackie Smith. Councillor Mrs. Judy Smith. Councillor Mrs. Judy Smith. I'll come back to Councillor Smith. Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Present.
Councillor Judy Stevens.
Present.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Present.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Present.
Councillor Jill Thomas. Councillor Thomas. I'll come back to Councillor Thomas as well. Councillor Rosemary Trollope Bellew.
Present.
Councillor Sarah Trotter.
Present.
Councillor Dean Ward.
Present.
Councillor Hannah Westrop.
Present.
Councillor Hilary Westrop.
Present.
Councillor Amanda Wheeler.
Present.
Councillor Mark Whittington.
Present.
Councillor Jane Wood.
Present.
Councillor Paul Wood.
Present.
I believe Councillor Sue Woolley will be joining the meeting late, but just in case, Councillor Sue Woolley. No. Councillor Linda Wotton.
Present.
And Councillor Ray Wotton.
Present.
Thank you. I'll now go back through those members that we didn't have a response from to see if we've got something now. Councillor Mrs. Rosemary Cabery Brown.
IT are currently making contact with Councillor Cabery Brown.
Thank you. Councillor Jane Kingman. I can't see.
I understand she might be arriving late, but she does intend to attend.
Right, thank you for that, Councillor Wotton. Councillor Susan Sandal.
Again, the IT team is working with Councillor Sandal.
Okay, we've got Councillor Mrs. Judy Smith. We've still not got a response from Councillor Mrs. Judy Smith, so we'll see if we can get... Oh, I can see you, Councillor Smith. I don't think you're muted. Oh, well. Councillor Judy Smith, can you hear me? I believe it looks like Councillor Mrs. Judy Smith may be... Right, yeah, she's having some issues, so we'll get IT to deal with that. Thank you. Councillor Jill Thomas.
Having problems getting on.
Thank you. We'll also get IT to help with that. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I've just unmuted. Chairman, you're now unmuted, so people should be able to hear you.
It's okay, busy.
No, I thought Shaheen said she couldn't hear me, but I don't know.
Okay, now.
You can hear now. Yeah, we've just unmuted. Right, before we begin by making appointments, I would like to draw members' attention to Article 4.13.7 of the Council's Constitution, which states that if there are more than 2 people nominated for any position to be filled, and there is not a clear majority of votes in favour of one person, then the name of the person with the lowest number of votes will be taken off the list and a new vote taken. The process will continue until there is a majority of votes for one person. To enable us to deal with appointments as simply as possible, I would like to propose suspending Article 4.13.7 of the Council's Constitution for all of the agenda items that involve the making of appointments. That is agenda items 2, 4, 10 and 11, and instead selecting the appropriate number of nominees with the highest total of votes. I would like to call on the Vice Chairman to second this.
I second it.
We will now take a vote by exception. If there is any councillor who does not support the suspension of this article for agenda items 2, 4, 10 and 11, they should type against or abstain in the chat box now. Abstentions, so the vote is cast. Sorry, 4, 5. Any advance?
Madam Chairman, can I confirm there's 5 abstentions, there's no member against, and I'm waiting for total numbers in favour. But it will be carried, but I haven't got confirmation of numbers as yet, but in the majority it is passed.
Madam Chairman, can I come in and say I now join the meeting? Am I allowed to say that?
You just said it.
What is the position on that?
I think, Madam Chairman, as Councillor Casterband's already said it, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, in the chat function we've had a request from Councillor Phil Dilks, please record my abstention. I'd confirmed his abstention within the 5. If you would like it recorded any further, then it would have to be a recorded vote. So it will be recorded as one of the abstentions, but not in detail. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
So what do we do now?
Move on to the next bit. Right. Okay, so I would now like to ask the monitoring officer to confirm how long the appointments will last in the context of the Council's constitution and the coronavirus regulations.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. You may recall that we were able to move this annual meeting to September because the government passed the urgent coronavirus regulations allowing for the annual meeting to continue. Those regulations are in force until the 6th of May of next year. And in the absence of anything else coming along, the next annual meeting will be held in May. So these appointments will continue until May next year.
Thank you for that clarification. I would now like to invite nominations for the Chairman of the Council. Councillor Exton, I believe you have a nomination to make.
Madam Chairman, it's Councillor Exton. I would like to nominate the next chairman as Councillor Breda Ray Griffin. Breda has been a long colleague and friend of mine for many, many years, and she's helped me with my past chairmanships and mayors of Stamford. And over the last 3 years, she's been the mayor, deputy mayor, and mayor of Stamford. So I think she's well versed in the workings of a civic head, and also served a very good apprenticeship, and I think, and served you in your term of office. So therefore, Madam Chairman, I would like to formally nominate Councillor Breda Ray Griffin to be chairman of South Casterband District Council.
I would like to second that nomination myself. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Councillor Wood. Yes, Councillor Wood, I believe, would like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no further nominations. I'd just like to support Councillor Breda Griffin as chairman of the council. I think she's done an excellent job as vice chairman, and I see no reason to propose anybody else. So she has our full support. I'm sure she'll be very independent-minded as chairman and operate a good council meeting. So she has my full support, and I hope we can all vote unanimously for her. Thank you very much.
Are there any further nominations?
No, it's Phil Dilks to speak.
Councillor Phil Dilks, would you like to speak?
Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you. I have indicated in the chat box why I was asking for my vote to be recorded in the minutes that I'd abstained. I think that's according to the Constitution, and I'm sure that can be sorted out afterwards, so I don't wish to take any more time upon that. But I would like to ask, before I speak, on COVID-19, as you alluded to, means we're 4 months late holding our annual meeting, inevitably. And as it says on the tin, the annual meeting normally elects a chair for a full year. So I'm just asking, are we now electing a chairman for only the remaining months of the current financial year? And can you confirm that we'll be doing it all again next May? That's my question. I'm happy to go on and say that I'll be voting for Councillor Griffin, and not just because she seems to be the only nomination. But seriously, there are some members of the ruling group on this council who command respect across the whole council. And I'm very pleased to say that Councillor Breda Griffin is one such councillor. And for many of us, that's an important attribute when we're selecting a new chairman of our council. It's one of the few appointments that is not dictated to us by the political leader, but it's a choice in which we all, as elected members of all political parties and none, can actually have a say, even us independents. Isn't democracy wonderful? Look, we have that choice, at least in theory, because the chair of the council is not supposed to be a political appointment. Our chairman is rightly expected to be politically impartial, whether representing us all as the public face of the council in the ceremonial role that Councillor Griffin is already very experienced in, thanks to serving, as Councillor Axton has said, her community with distinction as Mayor of Stamford last year in particularly, or when presiding over us in our meetings, she's expected to be politically impartial. In that respect, may I say that it would demonstrate impartiality and add dignity to the office if Councillor Griffin and all future chairs of this council made a public statement resolving not to attend party political group meetings nor take part in a political party whip for the duration of their office. I know, Breeder, that you're ready to accept the challenge ahead of you, and may I congratulate you and wish you all the best in your year of impartiality. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, if I can come in and answer Councillor Dilks's question. As matters currently stand, we should be having an annual council in May. So yes, the next time you will be holding an annual council will be in May. But of course, what we can't predict is if anything happens on the coronavirus and if any other lockdown measures or other emergency legislation comes ahead. But as matters stand, yes, it's a shortened year with annual council next May.
In theory, I just wonder, would it be open to us to, should we wish as a council, to re-elect the chairman that we're electing now for a further full 1 year?
Councillor Dilks, that's not possible because the current coronavirus regulations cease to have effect on the 6th of May. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm sorry, I don't believe I could be heard. I'll just repeat that. Councillor Dilks, the coronavirus regulations only last until the 6th of May 2021. So we would have to revert to the old position, which is to hold the annual meeting in May, unless something else comes up, of course, and new regulations are made.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm asking though, will it be open to us to, should we wish to re-elect, who would then be the current chair for a full new period, i.e. for 21-22?
Councillor, Madam Chairman, if I can just answer that. So yes, the proposal would be is that obviously if a leader is successfully elected at the present time in today's meeting, then next May at the AGM, it would certainly be the administration's proposal that we re-elect Councillor Breeder Ray Griffin in May for a year. So then Breeder will also serve 18 months, similar to what Councillor Mrs. Jackie Smith has served.
Thank you for that, Callum.
Councillor Morgan.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, we'd just like to support the nomination of Breeder Griffin, and rather than go on, I would just like to second all of the comments that have been made about her. I also support the proposal to extend her term in May, given it would seem incredibly unfair to do anything other than that. Thank you.
If there are no further nominations, we will now move to the vote. And would the Chief Executive confirm the voting procedures and the vote that can now take place?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I can confirm with that Councillor Breeder Ray Griffin is the only nomination for the chairman this year. Therefore, we can go to the voting by exception. So if members could vote using the chat function, if you would like to abstain or you are against the vote of Councillor Breeder Ray Griffin as the chairman for the period from now until May next year. Madam Chairman, it looks like there is no abstentions or voting against for Councillor Breeder Ray Griffin as Chairman of South Casterband District Council for the year of 2020 to 2021, and therefore is confirmed in the chairmanship role.
these wires. I'm wired for sound. These never run smoothly. Commentators. Well, having achieved this, hang on a minute. Having achieved this, I just feel
right, sorry. I was standing up so that you could see the full glory of the chain. And thank you so much for putting all your trust in me. And thank you so much too for all those comments that you've made. It's made me feel quite emotional. And I'd just like to say thank you. And I'm pleased to see so many of us here. And I can't believe how kind people have been to me. And I just wanted to think that we're all inclusive and that we've all made, hopefully, friends, and we need to make sure that we're all looking after one another. It isn't just let's forget people, we're friendly in here and we move away. I just hope that the friendships all go outside these four walls into our communities and we look after each other and sort out our needs and how we're going to help. The coronavirus has certainly brought lots of different things to it, and we're quite concerned about how we're going to deal with it, especially when you're living on your own. Oops. Oh dear, I've gone off the track. And we need to be looking out for everybody, and we need to see the idea that we've actually got we're looking at everybody, we're talking, we're helping, we're looking after the neighbours. Some people make it look as though it doesn't care, it doesn't matter. But please, let's keep making sure that we are looking after each other. Now, I did actually ask for a bit of information about how long an attention span we have. And I knew that the girls were longer and the boys were shorter. And it turns out that it's about, need we say any more, 32 to 48 minutes. So our meetings should really be very short. And then, of course, it's having a break. Well, it's suggested in the DHSE report that we looked at that we should have not long breaks of 15 minutes, but short breaks of 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes in every 50 to 60 minutes per time slots. Well, I thought that if we got a bit fed up, we should actually be helping our bodies by if we put our heads to the left.
Trying to turn it off.
Pardon? That we should put the head to the left, head to the right, look up, look back, stand up, turn around, do a little wriggle, twiddle your thumbs, and you should be doing a good service to your body. Okay, thank you. So let's see us all standing up, turning around. Let's have a little twiddle, and then off we go. Oh, at least I've got smiles on some people's faces. Right, okay, so now back to the hymn sheet. I'd like to invite Councillor Cook to give the vote of thanks to the retiring chairman, Councillor Jackie Smith. He can't do anything now.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman, for the very interesting and enthusiastic welcome. I'm looking forward to many more of your meetings. Well, just briefly returning to our former chairman, I think it's quite difficult really to summarise the period since the annual general meeting back in May 2019 when Councillor Jackie Smith, a little reluctantly, as many of us will note, accepted the role of Chairman of the Council. And at that time, we were embarking on some real major projects. The cinema was well underway under the watchful eye of Jackie, and there were major building works on our own office space, both here in the Council chamber and in the main office buildings. We had office moves, we had council meetings away from this building, we were in Jubilee Life Centre for those of you that remember. So I think it has certainly been an extremely unique term of office for you, Jackie. And I know that one of your first initiatives, and one that you are still very proud of today, was to invite representatives from different religious and cultural backgrounds to each council meeting so they could deliver prayers or blessings prior to the start of each meeting. And I think this must have been quite daunting for some of these representatives, because it has been amazing and also a refreshing experience to be able to hear the different blessings being delivered prior to our formal meetings. And of course, this is an example, Jackie, of your encouragement to include people, not just from Grantham, but the whole district and a variety of cultural backgrounds as well. And Jackie's way of signifying is that the council has always been open for business and welcomes interaction and insight from everyone. And if we briefly look at what, Jackie, you've done, you've overtaken over 120 events while still undertaking your role as a ward councillor. You've attended numerous council committee meetings to ensure you're fully aware of what's going on. And obviously, I've had the pleasure of being your consort, and I think you certainly appreciate the size of Lincolnshire when you attend a dinner right in Scunthorpe, which was really enjoyable. Now, just prior to lockdown, Jackie, you held your own unique civic dinner with a diverse guest list from businesses, civic dignitaries and representatives from the armed forces, and of course the charities that you have also supported. So during your term of office, you've raised around just over £1,500, which has been split between your two charities, the Alzheimer's Association and also St Barnabas's Hospice at Grantham Hospital. And I know that you've already handed those cheques over. And I think, we would have raised more if it had not been for COVID-19, which, as we all know, has had quite the impact. As I've said, I was truly privileged to be your consort, Jackie, for this term of office. And I know we've attended events across the whole district and much wider than that as well. I think you are a remarkable person, and you've really left a true legacy in your role as chairman. So I'd like to thank you for your commitment and perseverance. And I know that the council has been well represented. So thank you for your time in office, Jackie.
Right, could I just say, are there any other people who would like to speak? No, I'd just like to add, I would like to, Councillor Morgan.
Yes, I would just like to also extend thanks to Jackie. It cannot have been easy having to chair meetings and deal with all the new technology. It is very easy to take all that for granted, but to keep things running smoothly. And I'd actually like to thank the officers, if I may, as well, who have supported Jackie throughout all of this, because they've ended up sometimes working as a team to get things going, but it has been appreciated.
Can't get it right. Right. Can I just say something now? Yes. You'll soon do that little wriggle if you keep getting up and down like that. Okay then. Right, I'd like to, I should sit down, shouldn't I? I'm used to standing up for things. I'd like to say thank you so much for the honour of being your vice chair. We've had a few little chats. Lots of little laughs, lots of wriggles, lots of chats. And we've also had a super time when we went to, and I don't know whether I've got it right, Bracebridge Heath, where we saw all the model aircraft. What a wonderful day that turned out to be. And I think you've undertaken this role with fantastic dedication and determination. And we've also had some fresh outlooks to how I'm being got at. Outlooks at how the council will be run. I too like the idea with the different ethnic minorities and having their face coming to the council. I think it's a good start that we encourage this. And I would like to do that too. So it'll be something that we'll carry forward and do from there. Sadly, the COVID has not helped matters, but all the same, you've got out and about and done things locally, and I'm sure everybody would be very pleased to know all about that. So thank you very much indeed for all your effort and all your time. Thank you. Jackie too. Yeah.
I'm told I should sit down, but I feel as if I'm being hidden behind a big screen, so I hope you can pick me up otherwise. Kellam, thank you so much for the kind words you've said. We have had some laughs over the time, and it's made the work so much more enjoyable when you can laugh at things and at the same time realise that life can be very serious. As you said, nearly 18 months ago, it was with some reluctance that I was persuaded by the then leader to accept the role of chairman of the council. My rather limited experience seemed that being chairman indicated that one was expected to retire to the back benches and stand down at the next election. I did not fancy this as an outcome. I had other plans, and I'm sure you know some of them. As that much respected Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, when faced with a change of plans, retorted, "Events, dear boy, events." I thought I knew exactly what he meant. And looking back, that would probably have been the most likely answer I would have given if questioned at any time and asking questions pertaining to the role of chairman of the council. But fortunately, I had an excellent consort, Kellam, and support from our Chief Executive, Karen Radford. From May to November, Kellam and I were honoured to represent South Casterband District Council on a number of occasions and met fellow civics and a large number of business people from within the county. Then along came COVID-19, just in time for Christmas. Lo, events, dear boys, events, on a worldwide basis, and we're still learning to live with it. We all battened down and did as much as we could to make sure that the council continued to run and that everybody that needed help and support got it. The normal civil events attached to the role of the chairman of the council ceased. And I think that I was certainly very pleased to be able to help in keeping things on a smooth path. But you, all of you, and those people who are not able to be here today, were the backbone of everything that went on. Together, I think you all did a marvellous job, and it was certainly something that I know from comments I've received that it was much appreciated by nearly all of the inhabitants of South Casterband. I think when Breda and I sort of first got together on this, with Breda being my vice chairman, we never really thought that we would be still in the bowels of the bug, as I like to call them. There's still lots more to have, and I'm sure from the things that are being talked about at the moment, we still have a lot more hard work to do. As Kellam has said, I did manage to raise some money, and I hope during the course of this next year, 18 months, to be able to raise more for two very worthwhile charities, the Alzheimer's and St Barnabas Hospice. It is, as I have said my intention to continue working as a councillor for Grantham and South Casterband for as long as possible, and certainly for as long as I remain being elected. I was not born in Grantham or in Lincolnshire, but in the south. But when I moved up to Lincolnshire and got to know it very, very well, I found out just what a beautiful county it is. It has a lot of history, one of my favourite occupations, and it's is something that both my parents as well began to love. So I look forward to continuing to play my part as much as I possibly can. And I thank all of you for the help and encouragement and advice that you have given me over my time so far as a councillor. Sorry, I've just lost my place. I've got a bit of a squeak, I think, in the... Yeah. Before I sit down, I would like to note some help and support. A chairman is only, in my mind, as good as the backup team. Anita, Sam and Joe Toomey, I've been very lucky and look forward to continue to work with them. They will, I know, keep me on the straight and narrow. As a small token of my thanks, I would like to just say that although we have not been able to bring any small tokens of my being able to say to you thank you, that they are outside, and I hope when we have finished in here that those of you can get together and we'll perhaps have a photograph taken. So on parade immediately after that, and Callum and Karen, I hope you will also join with us afterwards. So I think that is all. I could go on. You've all been so wonderful, and thank you very, very much indeed for allowing me the honour of being the chairman. Thank you.
Can I just add to that it always seems a sad occasion when a chairman is finishing, another one is taking over, and sometimes we need to have perhaps a little more presence or something to happen to establish it. It's a bit like going on the ferry journey and you're going to France and you roll on and you roll off and bye, see you. So I think it would be nice to make more of an effort, and I had got ideas in mind, but sadly, look where we are. So maybe later. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Cool. Right. Councillor Kingman, if you'd like to speak. No?
Councillor Kingman, we've unmuted your microphone, so if you want to proceed, you should just be able to accept and speak now.
Hello, apologies. Yes, I couldn't unmute. I just wanted to speak and to say thank you to Jackie for all the hard work she's done. It's been such a difficult year, and we've had quite a lot of problems from the opposition, who's actually caused for a hard time for Jackie, and I think she's handled it really well. And I just want to thank Breda also, because I think she's been great deputy. I think she'll make a fantastic chairman of SKDC, and I just wanted to put that forward because I think Jackie's had quite a difficult time, and I think she's handled it really well.
Okay, I keep forgetting out about the moots and the unmoots and whatever. We'll go on to agenda item 4, election of the Vice Chairman of the District Council. I would like to now invite any nominees for the office of Vice Chairman of the Council, and I will call on Councillor Ray Wotton to begin the nomination process.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman. May I first congratulate you on your appointment as Chairman. I'm sure you'll do a fantastic job. Madam Chairman, I'd like to propose Councillor Ian Stokes for the role of Vice Chairman. Councillor Stokes has been a District Councillor at SKDC since 2004. He has served as Mayor of Grantham and is the current Chairman of the Governance and Audit Committee. I know that Councillor Stokes has the experience to support you in your new role. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder for that nomination?
Yes.
Councillor Carberry-Brown, I think.
Yes, that's quite right. I have much pleasure in supporting Councillor Wotton in his proposal as Mr. Councillor Ian Stokes as Vice Chairman. Ian, as we all know, is a staunch supporter of South Casterband District Council. He has also been Mayor of Grantham, and he's got a vast amount of experience. I'm sure he'll be a good support to you, Madam Chairman, and I have no hesitation whatsoever in seconding this proposal.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? No? No?
Chairman.
Yes?
I would like to propose Councillor Helen Crawford as Vice Chairman.
All right. Have you got a seconder?
I hope so, yes.
I'll second that, Madam Chairman. Councillor Paul Wood.
Right. If you'd like to go ahead. And are you to propose?
I would like to propose Councillor Helen Crawford as Vice Chairman of the South Casterband District Council. She is a new councillor. She is lively. She works very hard, not only for the district as her ward councillor, but for the whole of Bourne. Put something in front of Helen and she tackles it with good humour. She will get to know everything about the situation and hopefully come to a good outcome. I think her enthusiasm is a great highlight that we should all take note of, and I would very much wish to commend her to the members. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations?
Could I just make, Councillor Paul, could I just make a comment? Or
certainly.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
I'm very pleased that it was unanimous and that you're appointed. You're obviously very good at your little dances, and I'm sure they will come to you.
Sorry.
I've nothing against Councillor Ian Stokes. I just thought, as a Vice Chairman, it would be good to have a vote for Vice Chairman, to be quite honest. That's why I've seconded Councillor Crawford. So I just think it would be good when you're elected Vice Chairman to have a vote. I was actually thinking of another candidate, but I don't think he would accept. I was thinking of going to nominate Councillor Graham Gill, but I doubt he would accept that. So I'm quite happy to second Councillor Ellen Crawford. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations? No? Then we'll now move to the vote.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We'll now go to the vote for the...
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll go through... oh, sorry.
No. Thank you, Madam Chairman. We'll now go to the vote for Vice Chairman of South Casterband District Council. We have 2 nominations, so therefore we cannot do the voting by exception. I'll be asking Naomi to do the roll call. As we roll call, can you please confirm either Councillor Ian Stokes or Councillor Helen Crawford as your vote, please? Thank you. Naomi?
Thank you. I'll go through the vote now. Councillor Bob Adams.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Harris Bismouth Singh.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Mrs Pam Bosworth.
Ian Stokes.
Councillor Bob Broughton. Councillor Bob Broughton.
Ian Stokes.
Thank you. Councillor George Chivers.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Louise Clack.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Callum Cook.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor John Cottier.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
I'll vote for me. Thank you.
Councillor John Dawson.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Phil Dilks.
Apologies. Helen Crawford.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Mike Exton.
Ian Stokes.
Councillor Paul Fellows.
I wish to abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Helen Gorrell.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Breda Griffin.
Ian Stokes.
Councillor Jan Hansen.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Graham Gill.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Gloria Johnson.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Mrs Rosemary Caberry Brown.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Jane Kingman.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Philip Knowles.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Matthew Lee.
Councillor Stokes.
Councillor Penny Milnes.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Thank you. Councillor Virginia Moran.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Nick Robbins.
Definitely Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Susan Sandal.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Ian Selby.
Nothing personal against Helen, but I'm going for the experience with Ian Stokes.
Councillor Jackie Smith. Councillor Mrs Judy Smith.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Abstain.
Councillor Judy Stevens.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Well, Councillor Ian Stokes, obviously.
Councillor Ian Stokes. Sorry, I'm just going through my list as it is. Councillor Jill Thomas. Councillor Thomas. I believe Councillor Thomas might have lost connection. We were trying to get hold of her through IT, and we'll continue with that. Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Ian Stokes, of course.
Councillor Sarah Trotter. Councillor Trotter.
Apologies. Councillor Helen Crawford, please.
Thank you. Councillor Dean Ward,
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Hannah Westrop,
Councillor Ian Stokes, please.
Councillor Hilary Westrop,
Councillor Ian Stokes, please.
Councillor Amanda Wheeler,
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Mark Whittington,
Ian Stokes.
Councillor Jane Wood,
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Paul Wood,
Councillor Ellen Crawford.
Councillor Sue Woolley,
Councillor Woolley's not joined us yet.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Linda Wotton,
Councillor Ian Stokes.
and Councillor Ray Wotton.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Thank you. If you could please bear with us a second, then we'll confirm the numbers. Thank you.
Feels like it's going to fall off. This comes up.
Madam Chairman. Yeah, I've got the results. I've got the results of the votes. We've had 2 lost connections, so 2 votes were not able to be received. We've had 2 abstentions. There were 16 votes for Councillor Helen Crawford and 31 votes for Councillor Ian Stokes. Therefore, Councillor Ian Stokes is duly elected as the Vice Chairman of South Casterband District Council.
Thank you very much for putting your confidence in me to be the Vice Chairman for the ensuing period. Thank you.
I think I should have a button on here. Right, so we'll start again. I can't hear a word. All right, okay. Councillor Crawford wants to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Congratulations on your role, and I wish to congratulate Councillor Ian Stokes on his role. Wish you both all the very best.
Thank you very much for your sentiments. That's kind of you. Thank you. Right, we'll try again with agenda item 5. It covers the disclosure of interest by members. So I would like to remind members that a disclosable pecuniary interest is an interest in any member holds where they or their spouse or civil partner is likely to receive any financial benefit or disadvantage because of the decision that is being made. For example, this could be as a result of their employment or a dividend they have in respect of an affected business. It also covers any land they hold. All members have an interest in Agenda Item 12, Amended Budget Proposals 2020-21, because Recommendation 1 asks Council to approve an increase in the members' allowances budget. in order to meet the National Pay Agreement for 2021 and to implement the additional 0.75% increase from April 2020. The monitoring officer has used the delegation made to her by Council on the 12th of July 2012 to grant all members a dispensation to allow them to consider this item. If any member has any further interests they need to disclose, can you please indicate in the chat now? Thank you. I'll just leave it on, I think. Then you know I'm breathing. Right, okay. Thank you. If during debate it becomes clear to you that you have a disclosable pecuniary interest in an item, you should indicate in the chat box by typing the word interest. I will call on you to disclose that interest, and then you will be required to leave the virtual meeting for the remainder of that item. Once that item of business is complete, you will be invited back into the meeting. So we will now proceed with the next item of business, agenda item 6. Right, as you are aware, the Council was due to confirm the minutes of the extraordinary Council meeting held on the 1st of July 2020 at its last meeting. As a result of an error in the publication of papers, we were unable to consider the draft minutes at that time. The monitoring officer has written to all members to explain and apologise for the errors that meant this item wasn't able to be concluded at the previous meeting. This letter was circulated with the Council agenda for those members who receive hard copy, and emailed round to councillors who receive their papers electronically. I will now move to the business of confirming the minutes from the extraordinary meeting of Council on the 1st of July 2020 as a correct record. Can I read this all through first? Any corrections should be regarding the accuracy of the substance of the minutes, not typographical errors, which should have been raised with the Democratic Services team outside the meeting. If you wish to make any corrections to the minutes, please indicate that you would like to speak using the chat function. And I believe we've got Councillor Dilks in the chat room.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Before our first twizzle, which I look forward to, I'm sure members will recall that at the last meeting, when we were asked to confirm the minutes of our extraordinary meeting about the hospital as a correct record, I sought clarity on which version we were being asked to adopt. The Chief Executive twice pointed out to me that it was the version in the public agenda pack, but unfortunately, as you said, 2 different versions had been published in the pack that was before us. After seeking the advice of the monitoring officer, the Chief Executive said as she didn't have access to an agenda pack, she was unable to see the differences in the 2 versions. So adoption of the minutes was deferred until the situation could be clarified, when we were also told that a question from Councillor Morgan would be answered. Now, what's before us today in our agenda packs is not version 1 or 2, but actually it's a 3rd version of the minutes of the 1st of July, a sort of a halfway house, if I might call it that, between the 2 versions previously published. Madam Chairman, in the interests of adopting a true record, as is our duty, I'd be happy to propose an amendment that we confirm the most accurate version we've seen, i.e. version 1, as published on pages 7 to 13 of the published agenda packs for the 16th of July. However, to save time and to move on, I propose adoption of version 3 that's before us today, but subject firstly to reinstatement of the word emotively in the final sentence of the first paragraph. So that part would then read as version 1, i.e. members of the public were thanked for expressing their views emotively during the public speaking session. Secondly, in the next paragraph, the words "no motions on notice had been submitted in advance of the meeting" are reverted to how they were in version 1, i.e. it should read "no motions had been accepted." Thank you.
Thank you. Could I go to the monitoring officer for some clarification, please?
Madam Chairman, thank you. Councillor Dilks has moved those as amendments, and it's a matter for council to, if that amendment is seconded, and then it's a matter for council to indicate whether they accept that amendment to the minutes or not. It might have been helpful if we had known about this in advance, and as per your comments, Madam Chairman, that minor word changes, it's preferable to notify us in Democratic Services so that we can look into these before the meeting. But it would need to be seconded if it's a motion, an amendment to the motion to the minutes.
Madam Chairman, in order to move the meeting on, I am happy to second Councillor Dilks's amendment to the minutes there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Callum.
Right, so we've got that. So that's meeting to do that. And now may I take a seconder? So you're the seconder for the whole thing, yes? So I've got, although I've got here Councillor Bob Adams to second.
I think no. if the leader is accepting the amendments, Chairman, Councillor Dilks has proposed them, Councillor Kellam has seconded them. Sorry, Councillor Cook has seconded them. I don't really think I need to step in.
Right, that's fine. Just that we've got everybody happy. Okay then.
I'm just having a quick twirl.
You won't forget that in a hurry, will you? Right, okay. And then it says, I've taken it suggested. May I ask? Yes. So I think we go through to a vote. Yes. So now we're going to vote on that with the motion. Okay. Right. We're voting, but we're doing it again with only those who are abstaining or against. We'll need to vote. Okay, so can we do that then, please? Oh, thank you. Lovely. I don't know how to use.
Madam Chairman, we have 2 abstentions as members weren't actually at the meeting. Therefore, it's 45 members for, 2 abstentions. Thank you. So the minutes are carried.
Thank you, colleagues.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's lovely. So now we should be able to go on to item 7. So this is for the minutes of the meeting of council on the 16th of July. We now move to the minutes of the meeting of council, which was held on the 16th of July 2020. Once again, any corrections should be regarding the accuracy of the substance of the minutes. If you wish to make any corrections to the minutes, please indicate you would like to speak using the chat function. If any member wishes to comment on the detailed content of the exempt minute, which were circulated separately to the agenda pack on Friday the 11th of September. We will need to move into exempt session and exclude the press and public from the meeting. Is there a proposer for these minutes?
I'd like to propose the minutes,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chairman.
And is there a seconder?
To second those minutes. Thank you, Chairman.
Right. No suggested amendments? Pardon? Councillor Knowles, would you like to come in?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and congratulations and all the very best.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, everybody, if I want a point of order, please, Madam Chairman. This is a point of order, and I'm sorry to everybody if it appears to be pedantic, but I believe there is a potentially important principle at stake, if you'll just bear with me for 2 minutes. I refer you to page 24 of your sheet, 6.55, paragraph 7, and the leader proposed that a further 5 minutes extension should be allowed to vote on the chairmanship of the Environment Overview and Scrutiny Committee, beg your pardon, and then go straight to the vote for A and B of agenda item 11, as the parish councils had waited a long time for the desire to be made. The proposals were seconded and agreed. Now, I fully appreciate that the urgency of those and the importance of those matters to those local crowds was paramount, and we were running out of time. And I fully accept that Councillor Cook was trying to move the thing along so we could move those motions before the termination of the meeting. I understand that completely. And as a means of moving the minutes, it was both a practical proposal and as time was short, and a logical thing to do. But I would like to know really under what constitutional basis it was allowed. The rules of debate demand, first of all, a proposer, a seconder, an opportunity for members to speak, a summing up by the proposer should he wish to do so, he or she wish to do so, and then a vote. In effect, we established a principle that if the leader, or anyone else for that matter, proposes that a debate is excluded from a motion, and that is given the approval by a majority of the members present, then there can be no debate on that proposal. Now, I'm not here in any way to have a pop at Councillor Cook in any way at all, and I'm not objecting to what happened to Boothby, Pagnell and Swinstead and so on. It was all done in good faith, I understand that. But the chair has a power to limit limit debate before votes. But the leader and nobody else, I believe, has a constitutional right to stop debate on any particular item. If we get to a ridiculous situation, it could be that a leader or another member of a group could pass a motion like this or propose a motion like this to exclude debate. It could be passed by a political majority, and it could exclude any item from future debate. And obviously, I don't think that's what was intended. I don't think people would want to do that, but the principle might be opened up if that is the case. And I would like to ask the legal officer under what basis of the Constitution was that allowed to happen, and really have an assurance it won't happen again.
Thank you. Could you tell me which page in the Constitution I would find that, please?
I can't tell you which page of the my knowledge of the Constitution, I can't find anything in my observation of the Constitution that allows this to happen. That's the point.
Right. Only we do need to sort of have something to work on, so I know where to find it for you. Okay. I'll ask the.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah. Councillor Knowles, I think I'm just trying to pinpoint the minute that you're talking about. Is that the page 24? Page
24, near the bottom of the page. When we agreed that we should deal with two items without a debate, Councillor Cook proposed that we should take those two items and take them straight to a vote.
Yes.
I think you cannot do that. We cannot exclude debate. I know what he was trying to do, and he was trying to do the right thing and get the things through quickly. But I don't think technically we were able to do that.
because that means we establish a principle that we can always do that, or we can do it in future, and it can be done on any piece of motion that is in the pack.
Councillor Knowles, there is a provision in the Constitution, it's 4.11.10, which talks about motions that can be moved during debate, and one of those is that the meeting is to proceed to the next business, or to continue the meeting further than 3 hours, etc. So as I understood it, it was a motion put, a suggestion put by the leader, which was agreed by council. I don't see that setting any sort of precedent, and whether it came from the leader or anybody else, it was something that was agreed to by the meeting. I certainly don't see that as a breach of the Constitution, or in any way going through, bypassing anybody else's constitutional rights.
I'll accept your view, but it has to be said that as it was written, it excluded debate from a motion that was already put on the thing. I know nobody wanted to object to it. I know everybody wanted to go through and everybody wanted to go home. But the fact is that the proposal is something which I don't think is covered in the Constitution, that it excluded debate. And if I understand what we were trying to do, and if we can be assured that that wouldn't happen again, then I'd be quite happy to go along with, to understand your view and your ruling.
And I'm sure when they're looking through revamping and sorting out the Constitution, that would be something that would come up there and make sure that it's put in as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry to take the meeting's time.
No, that's fine. That's fine. At least we know where we are. Okay, so I think, there's Councillor Baxter to speak.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on your nomination and appointment.
Thank you.
I'm in a similar vein to Councillor Knowles. I don't remember Councillor Cook proposing to suspend proposing any of the procedural motions.
What's happened? Is he ill? Oh dear.
Done too many 12s.
It looks like Councillor Baxter's just left the meeting. I'm going to guess he's going to try and rejoin to reconnect to us properly.
Madam Chairman, if I can say, I don't know if it's something in the air today. We all seem to be having technical difficulties. Mine just suddenly threw me out of the meeting some minutes ago, and I was able just to rejoin.
Hello?
Hello,
Okay.
would you like to, is it on to item 7 you're talking about?
I was talking about the minutes of the last meeting.
Yes, agenda item 7 is what that's about.
So, in order to resolve the situation, so the minutes are accurate, I think that sorry, I'm on the wrong page. In order to make the minutes accurate, then the point which is made under the first parish council, Boothby Bagnall, where it says, as the meeting had exceeded the time So that doesn't make English, does it? As the meeting had exceed the time limits agreed. I think that should be as the meeting had exceeded the time limits agreed, no debate on the item followed. That sentence should be repeated in minute 119 concerning Swinstead Parish Council.
Right, okay. Right, so you're just making that notice, that point, yes?
Slight addition, yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, yes? Is that accepted? Yes, so
yeah,
right,
I accept
accepted.
that, Madam Chairman.
Okay, it's accepted. Right, so are there any other comments? No, let's go to the vote then, and we'll do the same again, where we have that we will repeat the same voting process. Please, can any member who does not support the approval of these minutes type against or abstain in the chat box? I'll give a moment for anyone who wishes to do this. What do I do? It's open there. I don't know what you do. Shall I mute it? Right, I think we've all had time to put the vote in. There isn't anybody doing abstaining or against, so then that's carried. Thank you. Right, agenda item number 8, communications including chairman's announcements. The list of engagements undertaken by Councillor Jackie Smith since council last met are included in the agenda pack for members' information. I'd like to give Councillor Smith the opportunity to make any comments on those engagements. Councillor Jackie Smith.
We're not used to all this mincing and booting.
There were limited number of engagements during the sort of second half of my term, and certainly in the list you have. You will see that it nearly all involved relationships with the armed forces, the armed services. We are, after all, a very active and have been a very active supporter of the armed services. Most of the other times invitations were declined simply because of the situation with sorry. Yeah, simply due to the problems we're having with the bug, as I like to call it. Makes it sound more friendly. If any of you would like any additional information, it is available.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. I've lost Councillor Morgan. Would like to speak.
Thank you. Yes, it's just a correction on page 27, item the 25th of the 8th. We've got that Wyndham Park, there was an unveiling of the memorial plaque, and Tommy, the unveiling of the memorial plaque was unfortunately cancelled, So only the Tommy took place, and the unveiling of the memorial plaque's actually been rescheduled.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for keeping us up to date and on our toes. Councillor Dilks.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to pick up on what Councillor Smith said about the what Jackie said about the 4 of the 6 occasions that are noted here are for the armed services. She said, or emergency services. I really welcome and thank her for the work in doing that and recognising, as you say, we are a military county, if I can put it that way, and I hope that you'll be able to continue that work. Thank you, Breda.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes, I would hope so too. Very much from a military background, so yes. All right, thank you. Now I think we go to a really nice piece, a lovely item, which is 8A, the best kept village. So I would like to move on to part A of this agenda item. This is something that has become an annual pleasure, where council is updated on the year's best kept village competition and the winners across the categories. I invite Councillor Dr. Peter Mosley to give us an overview of this year's competition and the winning entries.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on your appointment as Chairman for the year, and I really do hope you have an excellent time. Members will be aware of our SKDC Best Kept Village competition, and I wanted to put that into a little bit of context with the great work done through our Big Clean initiative. Our intention in launching the Big Clean was very much to work with communities to raise our street standards, and prompted us to launch our own Best Kept Village Awards 3 years ago. For some years, we did this with the Campaign for the Protection of Rural England, and they ran the competition on our behalf. But because of changes within that organisation, this year we've had to do it ourselves. In all, we visited 100 villages and hamlets and judged them on the condition of facilities and evidence of community pride. I am delighted to say that the standard of competition gets higher and higher, making it really hard to judge, and I wanted to say a sincere thank you for all of the amazing work. Our villages really do look amazing this year. We must thank Steve Frisby, who coordinated the judging, and the representatives from the Lincolnshire Gardens Trust, who helped us with our judging. As it turns out, Barrowby and Allington were joint winners in the larger village category, as it was so difficult to split them. Caythorpe came second and Thirlby came third. Irnham took the top slot in the smaller villages and hamlets category, with Stoke Rochford coming second and Gretford coming third. Each of the winning villages will receive a cash prize of £400, with £300 going to second place and £200 to third. We will be gathering parish council representatives together in the next month or so to present certificates and cheques. And to help mark their achievements, I can announce today that we're also presenting winning villages with a gold-painted and inscribed litter bin to replace an existing bin in their villages as a permanent reminder of their success. I see this as a gilt-edged recognition of their community achievements, just one of the reasons why this competition is so important. It's also extremely valuable as it provides detailed feedback to help us focus the work of our Big Clean team, address any problem areas, and continue helping to improve our communities. So many congratulations to our winners and runners-up this year. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Oops. Could I have Councillor Whittington, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and many congratulations on your appointment, and I'm sure you'll do a very, very good job.
Thank you.
Both the villages, Barrowby and Allington, that are the joint winners of the larger village. I'm speaking as the county councillor for the area in which both Allington and Barrowby are situated. And they've both done a splendid job, and both villages are an absolute credit. So many congratulations to them both, and in fact to the second and third place runners up as well. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Is it Charmaine again? Could I ask Charmaine Morgan to speak, please?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to extend congratulations to all who took part and the villages. It does sound like a huge amount of work overall, both taking part and also managing it. But I would like to just ask if in future we can consider how we could actually offer some parity for our towns within this scheme. Obviously we're not going to be best kept villages, but whether it's streets, whether it's in some cases, because not everyone even has a garden, whether it's best kept flower box, whatever it is, I'm going to just ask if we put our thinking caps on and see if there is a way that we can involve more within our communities. I think the fact that a comment was made that it highlights where there are issues also even makes it more important that we don't exclude our town centres from this scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just say that in Stamford we've got a group of people that do Stamford in Bloom. Perhaps we could do Grantham in Bloom, and they get people to sponsor things and to give peat and whatever, and they put chairs with flowers on by shops and whatever. So maybe that's something on a small scale could perhaps start with Grantham with that idea.
Thank you.
Right, Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Thank you, and well done to you, Councillor Breeder-Griffin, for your chairing skills. I think you're doing very well. You're certainly livening up this meeting. And I'd also like to thank Councillor Jackie Smith for all she's done in the last 18 months. But now I would like to congratulate Councillor Peter Mosley and his team for all they have done in the tidying up and cleaning up of this district. And I also like to say that well done to Gretford for coming third in the small classes, and I think they've done exceptionally well. And I just hope that one day Barham might also be there. I would hope it will take first place, but then I may be rather biased. But I'd like to congratulate you, everyone that has taken place having a go at this, and also again to Councillor Peter Mosley and his team.
Could we have Councillor Selby, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. First of all, congratulations on your appointment. Delighted for you.
Thank you.
Well done as well to Jackie Smith for her efforts as the chairman as well. Also, Madam Chairman, if you don't mind me, I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish Councillor Dean Ward all the very best for this evening for the mayor making. I'm sorry I can't be there, Dean, but I do wish you well in your term of office.
Thank you.
This initiative, Madam Chairman, I think is excellent for the district. So congratulations to Councillor Peter Mosley and all the team, Steve Frisby and everybody else that's participated in this. Yeah, it's wonderful for the district. I hope that something I've suggested in the past, and you've just touched on, Madam Chairman, is the Britain in Bloom competition. Something I've been involved with in the past in Skillington, where we won a gold medal certificate at the national finals. It certainly put Skillington on the map, and I think a good entry for Grantham would certainly help put Grantham on the map in a positive light, especially with all the fabulous work that the District Council has undertaken with the Grantham Oak, Wyndham Park, fabulous work that's been undertaken there in the Visitors Centre. So I just think that as a district council, I think we should certainly be looking at the Britain in Bloom for our towns, and yeah, help put our towns on the map in a very positive light. Help to encourage tourism as well, Madam Chair. It does so many different things. It helps the environment, biodiversity, and everything else that we should be working for. Yeah, it's got to be a positive thing, Madam Chairman. So yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Well done, Councillor Kingman.
I haven't asked
I haven't asked to speak, so I'm not quite sure what's happening. I didn't ask to speak the first time either, but I just waffled on, which I was happy
Well,
to
I've
do.
got a Bourne does in bloom as well. Town looks lovely, so I thought perhaps you just wanted everybody to
Sorry,
know.
Bridget. No, I was just making a comment that I will say that in Bourne, we get complimented all the time. It looks absolutely lovely, and I think that I'm surprised that Grantham hasn't got an in bloom, and I think it will enhance the town. So, but thank you.
That's quite all right. Do you think Judy Stevens? Right. Could I ask Judy Stevens to speak, please?
Yes, thanks very much, Councillor, and very many congratulations on your appointment today. I'm sure you'll do a brilliant job.
So,
I just wanted to ask, actually, Councillor Mosley, if SKDC has managed to continue with our refuse collections and helping the villages and the towns look better during the period of COVID.
Would you like to take that?
I'll take that question. Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. I think that has contributed to the villages looking particularly excellent. I mean, the standard of competition this year was quite amazing. It was quite obvious that whilst we were in a very difficult situation, a lot of people had taken that opportunity to tidy up their gardens and their houses, and consequently that meant that the judging was particularly hard, and I must say incredibly close. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Hanson, for your cheek.
Oh, sorry about that, Councillor Griffin. Congratulations on your appointment. I was just actually going to say that apologies, but I have to leave the meeting, but I just wanted to give my congratulations on your appointment, and I'm sure it's going to be a very well run year. We're all looking forward to it.
We look as though we're almost speaking a foreign language with how it's written, but no matter. Thank you very much indeed. Very good.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Right, and I will now just go on to... Oh, where is it?
I know, terrible mistake.
How could I?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and just quickly like to congratulate you on your rise to Chairman. And thank you very much, Jackie, for everything you've done in the last 18 months. It's been great. And thank you, Councillor Dr. Peter Mosley, for voting my village third in the competition. We're very proud of that, and I think it's been necessary for a long time that we've taken this over, because I don't think it was going very well over the few years before, and people had wondered what was happening. So I think all in all, it's been a great success. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Right, I think we'll cut that there now, and I think we've had some lovely responses, so I think it really is worthwhile, and it's lifted our spirits with what's happening at the moment. And I've just got here, on behalf of the council, I would like to thank Councillor Dr. Mosley and the team for delivering this scheme in a very, difficult climate. It's presented an excellent opportunity for communities to come together in a productive and creative way, and I hope this has tackled isolation and any other problems. I'd also like to thank and pay tribute to the entrants to the competition. The recent months have provided a clear demonstration of the importance of creating outdoor spaces where people want to be and bringing people together. You've played an important role in achieving this, so thank you for all your efforts. And if you watch Gardener's World, you've seen some wonderful little clips from the children and whatever, doing all sorts, and how this had an impact on them. So well done, and thank you very much indeed. Right, we go on to agenda item, I think I've got it right now, item 9. Oh, I better do the mute, otherwise I should be in trouble. You can't win them all, can you? Right, shutter it again. Our next item will see the leader announce his cabinet. I will use my prerogative to allow some flexibility around the time for which the leader can speak to enable him to fully outline the remits of each of the cabinet members.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, it's almost been, I think it has been now nearly a year since I stood up in the Chamber of South Castevan and asked for your votes and support to become the leader of South Castevan District Council. And I have to say it was one of the proudest days of my life, and that still remains very much the case. However, nothing could have prepared us for what was ahead, which is obviously a global pandemic that would shake our way of life, our way of work and our economy to the very core. But I am very proud of what we have achieved as a council and a community in the face of such unprecedented times. And this is where the stats speak for themselves. As part of our response to COVID-19, we awarded £29.1 million in government grants to over 2,500 businesses. We contacted nearly 18,000 vulnerable residents personally to offer support and made 1,500 calls to vulnerable residents as part of our befriending programme. We supported more than 2,200 households through the Council Tax Hardship Fund also. We maintained a full waste collection service, collecting 80,000 bins a week, carried out just over 2,500 emergency housing repairs, and maintained our streets to provide a safe and alternative source of fresh food, whilst enabling many of our stallholders to continue trading, and the list goes on. And I know that many of you were personally involved in supporting our own communities in a number of ways. So I'd like to put on record my thanks to everyone for the part you have played in this collective success, whether that be you're an elected ward member or a member of staff. So I would like to thank the staff, Team SK, because within 72 hours of lockdown, we moved from a largely office-based team to working remotely, whilst maintaining a high level of service. For many, this was a completely new way of working, and I know that for some, it has been difficult as people juggled working from home with homeschooling and other personal pressures. Other members of staff were deployed to support our critical services, and some still remain furloughed. It hasn't been easy, and I'm sure you'll all join me in thanking our staff for everything they have done, from supporting residents on the doorsteps to supporting and serving our communities. And of course, there is a financial cost due to the impact of COVID-19, and that is why, Madam Chairman, I am pleased that Councillor Adam Stokes will remain as our Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, and he will be presenting an amended budget later in our meeting. We were in a strong position going into the pandemic because of successful management of our budget over the previous years, and this puts us in good stead for the recovery ahead. Our record in responding to COVID-19 is impressive, but our achievements do not stop there. Since September, we secured £900,000 of Heritage Action Zone funding to restore the cultural heritage of buildings in Grantham Town Centre. We held a fourth successful Stamford Georgian Festival, celebrating our heritage, supporting community engagement and cohesion, and bringing economic benefit to our local economy. In terms of housing, we've adopted a new local plan and already started on that early review, which is due to start in the next few weeks. We've started our programme of building high-quality new homes of different tenures, including the completion of Wherries Lane, modular homes in Grantham, and also working alongside the government to develop an improved repairs process for rented properties, both for private and council housing. And the community spirit has shone through in 2020. As I mentioned, around 1,500 volunteers registered with the SK Community Hub to support our vulnerable residents in response to COVID-19. And through the SK Community Funds, we hope to attract more than £2.5 million of additional funds for community and voluntary groups in South Castevan. And this represents a 750% return on the council's investment, which is quite an achievement. And I know that our Cabinet Member for Communities, Councillor Annie Mason, who has kindly agreed to continue in her role, is looking forward to building on those community networks. Another part of our communities is the arts and culture sector. The government has rightly recognised this sector as vital to our well-being and our economy. And my colleague, Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew, both as a ward colleague and Cabinet, has agreed to stay on the Cabinet as the Cabinet Member for Culture and Visitor Economy. And I know that she is looking forward to implementing the new cultural strategy for our district, working alongside Councillor Judy Stevens as the Chairman and the committee. Now, before the pandemic, a different global crisis was grabbing the headlines and continues to do so. Climate change is an issue which I know many of you are passionate about, in particular my colleague Councillor Dr Peter Mosley, who will be continuing as our Cabinet Member for Commercial and Operations. There is still so much to do, and I am determined that we continue to make progress. Yes, we have declared a climate emergency, and we've published the Council's carbon footprint for the first time, and are currently developing an action plan to reduce our footprint. I'm sure, Madam Chairman, I will have missed something with that, but I'm equally sure that my colleagues will remind me if I have. But turning to the future, next month we will be presenting a new corporate plan to full council. There has been much good work done in the past to set out our direction of travel and work towards fulfilling our ambitions for this district. But our new corporate plan takes us much further. It clearly articulates our vision to be the best district in which to live, to work and to visit, and underpins this vision with 5 key priorities supported by action plans for delivery. Our district is full of promise and potential. It is home to innovative entrepreneurs and savvy startups. It is a base for global enterprise and an inviting landscape perfectly situated in the heart of England. Our job is to harness that promise and potential and work with partners to develop a clean and green future so that we live and work respects and protects our environment. Develop the goodwill and community spirit that already exists in our communities and has been so prevalent in recent months, and so that our communities thrive and are strong and healthy. Build and maintain housing that meets the needs of all our residents. And to ensure we are able to deliver on these priorities, we also have a priority to be a high-performing council. Our corporate plan provides a blueprint to ensure that individual performance is linked directly to the delivery of our priorities, and every member of staff has clarity over what is expected from them, as well as what they should expect from a modern and progressive employer. To deliver high-quality services, we attract and retain the best staff. Today, we have an amended budget. Next month, we will have a new corporate plan, provided it's voted for by Council. And the third part of that strategic jigsaw is our corporate restructure. If we are to have an efficient council that puts the needs of local people and local businesses first, we must ensure that our corporate structure and individual accountability fully aligns with our corporate plan, and that our amended budget takes account of any costs incurred in doing so. That is the reality of efficient business. I do not intend to dwell on this now because our restructure is an ongoing process, and at the heart of it, we are talking about people's lives and livelihoods. That is why our Chief Executive, Karen Bradford, has ensured that every step along this journey is taken carefully, sensitively, with the utmost professionalism and a careful eye on balancing the books. And as we look to the future, we have much to do and much to be proud of. So among our key actions for the next 3 years are the delivery of the St Martin's Park development in Stamford, the regeneration of Grantham Town Centre supported by the future High Streets bid and delivery of the Heritage Action Zone programme, identifying and maximising opportunities to support the development of our town centres in Bourne, Market Deeping and Stamford, learning from our experience in Grantham. The adoption of a tourism strategic framework, working with partners to promote our visitor economy and increase visitor spend in our district. We will work in partnership with the housing market to stimulate housing growth. We will increase the supply of high quality, sustainable council houses and to work to reduce and prevent homelessness in our district. We will also prioritise bringing private sector empty properties back into use, and I look forward to hearing more about this from our Cabinet Member for Housing and Planning, Councillor Robert Reid, who will be retaining his current position. Equality will become part of the fabric of South Castevan. It will underline how we work internally as a council and how we work with partners to tackle health, unemployment and other inequalities in areas of the highest need. We will continue to work in partnership with the police and our communities in tackling crime by investing in our CCTV service. Make best use of different funding sources to support the voluntary and cultural sector within the district, improve and invest in local arts and culture venues, and protect our most vulnerable residents with robust safeguarding processes. We will also develop and adopt a sports and physical activity strategy. And whilst we're on the subject of physical activity, Madam Chairman, our contract with One Life is due to end early next year. As a result, my colleague and Deputy Leader of the Council, who I must thank for his continued personal and professional support, will be retaining in that role. And Councillor Dobson has been assessing the future management options of the leisure service, especially in light of the impact of COVID-19 on this sector and the instability this has caused among leisure operators. At the expiry of the current contract, Cabinet have decided to transfer the leisure service to a wholly owned council company. Whilst there may still be an ambition to secure a future contract arrangement in the medium term, transferring the service to the council company in the short term will provide us with greater control over how the leisure service facilities are run and the activities are offered. In addition, this will give the council flexibility to carry out the planned leisure improvements without dealing with the loss of income claims or contract variations. Existing staff at the leisure centres will transfer to the new council company. We will also continue our work to reduce the council's carbon footprint by at least 30% by 2030 and endeavour to become a net zero carbon council as soon as viable before 2050. As many of you will see, we've already been continuing our Big Clean programme and our Higher Street standards as part of our commitment to a clean and sustainable environment. We will continue to work with the Lincolnshire Waste Partnership to reduce waste, tackle waste contamination and further improve recycling. And we will work proactively with Environment SK to deliver high quality services and maximise commercial opportunities. Madam Chairman, fellow colleagues and employees of the Council, this is an ambitious agenda, but it has been developed meticulously and collegiatively. This is not my agenda, it is our agenda to deliver our vision, and ultimately it will be our legacy. I look forward to working with you over the next 12 months as we continue to deliver for those we serve. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very insightful comments on there, and let's hope that we can all try to work together in whatever small way that we can come across. And so, as this is an announcement, questions are not accepted, so we'll move on, not to the next item of business, or perhaps it is, but a cup of tea, a bun and a biscuit. So if we take a break now for about a quarter of an hour, because I am mindful that this room is being used this evening and some of the staff have got to come in and clean it, so we won't make it too long. Okay, so we'll cut there. Thank you. Oh, should have said go out those doors, come in the side doors. I feel like a hair hostess. Right, here we go, I think. Right, we're on to agenda item 10, appointments to committees, including the appointment of their chairman and vice chairman. Now, is this the one that's just very, very recently come out? All the ones, everybody here should have a copy, and everybody else elsewhere at home should have had an emailed copy. So hopefully everybody can see it.
Madam Chairman, I'm ever so sorry. Could I please just say there will be hard copies for everyone here. We might not have got them all printed yet, but we will be distributing them during the item in case anyone's confused about that. Sorry.
Oh, right. Sorry. I thought everybody had got them. Right. OK. So the Council is now being asked to make appointments to its committees, including the appointment of the chairman and vice chairman of those committees. In the first instance, we will begin by appointing members to each of the Council's committees. A list of the nominations from each group has been circulated to members in advance of the meeting. Please can I invite the leader to propose the nominations en bloc.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As within the report and the supplementary pack that we have just been circulated, obviously you have the nominations there for the Conservative group. I would also like to add the name to the Companies Committee of Councillor Bob Adams in addition to the existing members, please. Thank you. I reserve the right to speak later.
Thank you. Councillor Adam Stokes, I understand you'll be seconding the nominations.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm happy to second the nominations and reserve my right to speak later as well. Thank you.
Right. And thank you. We will now go to the vote on the committee appointments. Use the process of voting by exception. If you're not in support of the appointments to committees, please type against. Have I gone too far ahead? Councillor Wood. Oh.
Could I just make a
Sorry.
person, please? Councillor Paul
Yes,
Wood.
certainly.
All what it is, I think, am I right? We're just looking at the allocation of seats on committees to start with, aren't we? Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I've got that right, yes.
Yeah, I would just like to add 2 substitutes for the planning committee. I noticed other groups have put substitutes, so I'd like to add myself, Councillor Paul Wood, as a substitute on the independent, and Councillor Ashley Baxter as a substitute. Those 2 substitutes, please. The rest are as per the printed document.
Right.
Thank you very much.
And that was for the planning committee, was it?
Planning committee, 2 substitutes, yes, please.
Can't find it.
Allocation of seats. We've got a list of Conservative, Independent, Labour, and there's substitutes for Conservative and Labour. I'd like to add our two names as substitutes for the Independent group.
Right.
Is that okay?
Well, we'll find out in a moment. Right. Okay. So yes, that's agreed.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that's needing to speak?
No.
No. So, so we need to go to the vote. Yes. So we'll have a vote then, and we'll do it as we did before. So it's either against or abstain in the chat box.
Madam Chairman, Councillor Paul Wood again. We're just voting on the allocation of seats on committees, aren't we? Not Chairman and Vice Chairman. Yes.
No.
Thank you.
No, that's correct. Okay. We haven't had it. Is it okay? If she wanted to speak. She wanted to speak.
Madam Chairman, there's been no abstentions or against in the chat box, so you can confirm the vote and the allocations of the seats.
Right, okay, so we're confirming that and allocations, that's good. So thank you, that's got that sorted out. So now we will move to the appointment of chairman and vice chairman for each of the committees. In line with Article 441A 8 of the Council's Constitution, I would like to ask the leader to put forward the names of the councillors who, in his view of their suitability and merit, he would like to propose as the chairman and vice chairman of the council's committees.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So obviously you'll see in the allocation of seats the supplementary pack. So I'll just quickly run through them. So for the Planning Committee, I would like to propose Councillor Bob Adams as the chairman and Councillor Judy Smith as the vice chairman. For the Licensing Committee, Alcohol, Entertainment and Late Night Refreshments Committee, Councillor Pam Bosworth for the chairman and Councillor Dean Ward for the vice chairman. For the Governance and Audit Committee, I would like to nominate Councillor Ian Stokes to be the chairman, and I would like to nominate Councillor Paul Wood to be the vice chairman. For the Employment Committee, I would like to nominate Councillor Jackie Smith for the chairman and Councillor Annie Mason for the vice chairman. For the Constitution Committee, it will be Councillor Linda Wotton as the chairman and Councillor Mike Exton as the vice chairman. For the Companies Committee, I would like to nominate Councillor Graham Gill as chairman and Councillor John Dawson as the vice chairman. For the FedCo Committee, I'd like to nominate Councillor Graham Gill for chairman and Councillor Mark Whittington for vice chairman. For the Culture and Visitor Economy OSC, it would be Councillor Judy Stevens for chairman and Councillor Hilary Westrop as vice chairman. For the Environment Overview and Scrutiny Committee, I'd like to nominate Councillor Nikki Mantfield as the chairman and Councillor John Cottier as the vice chairman. For the Rural and Communities OSC, I'd like to nominate Councillor Ray Wotton for chairman and Councillor Sarah Trotter for the vice chairman. I believe that concludes all of the nominations for chairman and vice chairman, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. It's not lost. Right, okay. So councillors, and is there a seconder for this?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd like to second those as mentioned by the leader. Thank you.
Right, okay, thank you. And I've got here, are there any further suggested names for the leader to consider? Have I got that right? Pardon? Right, so Councillor Wood, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chairman. Yes, I must admit I found this a little confusing. At the last council meeting, I wanted to put forward nominations, but was told that was not allowed. About an hour before this meeting, the monitor officer rang me up and told me I could put nominations forward for the leader to consider. So having that information, it was a bit late coming, but so I intend to put certain nominations forward. I suppose the first one, really, not being biased, is agreeing with Councillor Cook. Myself as Vice Chairman of Governance and Audit, which Councillor Cook has also mentioned as well. I'd also like to put forward Councillor Penny Mills as Vice Chairman of the Planning Committee, Councillor Ashley Baxter as Vice Chairman of the Environment Committee, Scrutiny Committee, and Councillor Phil Dilks as Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee. So those are my 4 nominations, and obviously my own nomination agrees with what Councillor Cook is put in. Thank you.
Right, could I go to the legal monitoring officer, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to clarify the advice that's been given, what I've said is that there's nothing to stop people putting names forward for the leader to consider, and any name that is put forward would have to be seconded. If there's only one name going forward, which and the leader has put single names for committee chairs and vice chairs to go forward, then we just vote on that. But if there are other names that are seconded, then it's a matter for the leader to decide whether, in his opinion, those names go forward to the vote. So that is the advice that I gave to Councillor Wood before the meeting and to Councillor Morgan as the group leaders. So it is not nominations that will go forward to the vote. These are names being put forward for the leader to consider whether he thinks they are suitable to go forward to the vote. So that's the stage that we are at. Thank you.
So
So Madam Chairman, Councillor Wood has put forward some names. They would need to be seconded, and then for the leader to consider whether any of those names go forward to the vote as his nominations.
Right, so I go back to Councillor Paul Wood and ask, do we have seconders for those names?
Yes, Madam Chairman, Councillor.
Right, I've got in the chat box Councillor Harish Bisner Singh. Can I call on you?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'm glad to second that.
Right, thank you. And I think Councillor Reid, is that right?
Thank you, Chair. I want to make reference to outside bodies next, please.
Right. Pardon? And Councillor Morgan, please.
Yeah, thank you. I would be happy to, and it might help actually, second each of the vice chair nominations put forward by Councillor Paul Wood on behalf of the independent group. I think each of the persons selected for the relevant committees would be ideally suited to those particular committees and roles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that it? Yes. Oh, is it Ashley Baxter to be next? Right, can I call on Ashley Baxter? I think it's ready to second, isn't it?
Yeah, the moment's passed, Chair. Please carry on.
All right, thank you. Right, okay, so now we go to a vote.
Madam Chairman, if I can clarify, it's now
sure.
for you. The leader has got more than one name put forward for putting to the vote for nominations for for chairs and vice chairs. It's now a matter for the leader whether he accepts those additional names or not to be put to the vote.
Right, so I would like to ask the leader to confirm which of the suggested names will proceed to the vote.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As leader of the largest group and leader of the administration group, the nominations that I have placed will be those going forward for votes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we will now go to the vote, and we will use the process of voting by exception. Please, can any member who does not support the appointment of the nominated candidates type either against or abstain in the chat box now.
Madam Chairman, I can now confirm the results of the vote. There's 36 for, 6 abstentions and 7 against. Therefore, the nominations for the Chairman and Vice Chairman are carried.
Right, thank you very much indeed. Finally, Councillor Cook, please can you announce the Overview and Scrutiny Committee Chairman that you will be appointing as Chair of Chairs?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I believe there was a meeting of the Chair of Chairs, and they discussed at that meeting about how they'd like to rotate it around the OSC Chairman. So for this forthcoming year, I'm pleased to announce that it will be Councillor Ray Wotton will be the Chair of Chairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, thank you very much. That concludes that item. Item 11, appointment of representatives to outside bodies. We move on to the appointment of representatives to outside bodies. Where nominations have been made, these have been pre-circulated to members. The Council's constitution sets out that one of the functions of the annual council meeting each year is to appoint representatives to outside bodies. The reference at paragraph 1.7 of the report included in the agenda pack does not give the full reference in the constitution. The full reference is Article 441b(5). A list has been circulated setting out those councillors who have been nominated to each outside body. We will vote en bloc for those outside bodies where the number of nominated councillors matches the number of seats available. Where there are more nominees than seats, we will use a roll call of votes, and members will need to say the name or names of the councillors for whom they wish to vote. Can I ask the leader to propose the nominations from the Conservative group?
Madam Chairman, just to say that there are, if you look at the chat box, there are a few individuals that do wish to speak.
Okay.
But I would like to go first on the representative of outside bodies, if that's okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Fine. Sorry, thank you. So representatives on outside bodies. So are you wanting just the nominations where there are more? You don't want me to go through the whole list of our nominations as such? Whatever's easiest. So
yes.
So I believe it's those in bold that have a shaded background. So for the Lincolnshire Flood and Water Management Scrutiny Committee, the nomination I'd like to put forward is Councillor Helen Crawford. For the Welland and Deepings Internal Drainage Board, I'd like to propose Councillor Bob Broughton, Councillor Jackie Smith, Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Jill Thomas. And for the South Casterband Citizens Advice Bureau, I'd like to nominate Councillor Gloria Johnson, Councillor Linda Wotton and Councillor Annie Mason, please. And I believe that's all of those that have more votes than there are spaces.
Right, okay. Could I go to, can't see the name, Virginia Moran?
God.
I didn't ask to speak. I merely pointed out that Councillor Morgan and Councillor Dilks had requested to speak at the end of the last item, but haven't been acknowledged.
Well, very sorry. It wasn't it must be an oversight rather than, and it's certainly not on purpose. Okay, thank you. I've got right. So who have I got to second?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I'd quite happily second the nominations put forward by the leader for the outside bodies, as mentioned.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just carry on with that. And now I'd like to ask Councillor Paul Wood to propose the nominations of the independent group.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah, just slight delay. Well, I'd just like, obviously, I think it's like Councillor Cook said, it's only the shaded ones where there is contention. So I would propose on the Lincolnshire Flood and Water Management Scrutiny Committee that I propose Councillor Ashley Baxter. And on the Welling and Deepings Internal Drainage Board, I would propose Councillor Phil Dilks, Councillor Ashley Baxter and Councillor Jill Thomas.
And is there a seconder for those?
There is, yeah, there is another one I've missed out, Madam Chairman. It's the Citizens Advice Bureau, isn't it?
Right.
I'm not quite sure how many candidates there are on that, but I'm putting forward Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Lee Steptoe. So I now need a seconder, don't I?
Yes, please.
I would be happy to second that.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, as I've actually nominated Lee on paper, then and the Councillor Woods has just put him forward instead, I would be happy to second Councillor Lee Steptoe and the rest as well.
Okay. So nomination to be seconded, right. So where do I go from there?
Madam Chairman, if I can help out here.
Yes, please.
The first thing that we need to do is for the ones that is not contested, these are the ones that can be taken en bloc. So can we please first have a vote of the ones that are uncontested, that are not shaded grey, as a vote to start with. I think those have been proposed by the Leader of the Council and seconded by Councillor Adam Stokes. So therefore, if we can do that through exception, after that vote, if you come back to me, then I'll take you through the other votes.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Just before we do that, can we just go to Councillor Ashley Baxter?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I don't know if I'm speaking at the right time. It possibly would make more sense after the, I guess, the uncontentious vote. I just want to point out, or I'd like Councillor Cook to clarify the reasons for choosing somebody from Grantham rather than someone from the Deepings to serve on the Welland Internal Drainage Board. The Welland doesn't run through Grantham, as I understand.
Okay. And
Madam Chairman, I would suggest that would come at that point of
next
vote. So if we can do the en bloc, and then we can go back to Councillor Blackster's point to the Leader of the Council. So if we can go to the voting by exception on the ones that are uncontested, to record the vote onto these outside bodies for the next period till May next year. Thank you.
do we just need to go through the list of the groups again, please?
Madam Chairman, for ease, would you like me just to run through the ones that are uncontested for everybody? So the vote that we're going to take is, and I presume this is going to be a vote by exception. Again, thank you, Monitoring Officer. So those positions that we are voting for is there's only the nominations as per the seats. So we've got the Black Sluice Internal Drainage Board, which is for Councillor Dr. Peter Mosley. The East Midlands Councils, which is in the role of the Leader of the Council, and the reserve is the Deputy Leader of the Council. The Local Government Association is obviously the same, and the Leader of the Council, and the reserve is the Deputy Leader. The Upper Witham Internal Drainage Board is Councillor Rosemary Cabery-Brown, Councillor Ian Stokes and Councillor John Cottier. The Dame Margaret Thorold Educational Foundation is Councillor Rosemary Cabery-Brown. The Deeping St James United Charities is Councillor Judy Stevens. The Elsie Park Community Trust is Councillor Robert Reid. The Grantham Almshouse Charity is Councillor Ray Wotton. The Grantham Canal Partnership is Councillor Mark Whittington. The Greater Lincolnshire Enterprise Partnership is in the role of the leader, and then the substitute is the deputy leader. Heritage Lincolnshire is Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew. The Joseph Clark's Grantham Apprenticing Foundation is Councillor Jackie Smith and Councillor Annie Mason. The Lincolnshire Health Scrutiny Committee is Councillor Rosemary Cabery-Brown with the substitute member of Councillor Linda Wotton. The Lincolnshire Police and Crime Panel is Councillor Ray Wotton. The Lincolnshire Sports Partnership (brackets Active Lincolnshire) is Councillor John Cottier, and the South Lincolnshire Fenlands Partnership is Councillor Helen Crawford. And they're the votes that we're about to do by exception.
Right, so can we go to the vote now then, please?
Madam Chairman, the results there are we have 6 abstentions, no against, therefore the voting en bloc is carried.
Right, thank you very much indeed.
For those outside bodies.
Yep.
Now we need to come and have a vote on each one of the shaded areas. So the Lincolnshire Flood and Water Management Scrutiny Committee. We've got 2 nominations for one position. So we've got Councillor Helen Crawford and Councillor Ashley Baxter. So therefore we do need to do a roll call, and members need to vote either Crawford or Baxter, and then we will be able to confirm who is appointed onto that outside body. So okay. If that's okay with you, Madam Chairman, I can pass to Naomi to do the roll call. Members, please state either Councillor Helen Crawford or Councillor Ashley Baxter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now do the roll call. Councillor Bob Adams.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Baxter.
Councillor Harish Bisnath Singh.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Mrs Pam Bosworth.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Bob Broughton. Councillor Broughton.
Yeah, Crawford.
Thank you. Councillor George Chivers.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Louise Clack.
Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Callum Cook.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor John Cottier.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Crawford.
Councillor John Dawson.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Sorry, could you just repeat that for me, please?
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Dilks.
Baxter.
Councillor Barry Dobson.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Mike Exton.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Fellows.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Helen Gorrell.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Breda Griffin.
Helen Crawford.
I believe Councillor Jan Hansen has left the meeting. Councillor Graham Gill.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Gloria Johnson.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Mrs Rosemary Cabery Brown.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Jane Kingman.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Philip Knowles.
Abstain.
Councillor Matthew Lee. Councillor Lee.
Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. Councillor Penny Milnes.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Thank you. Councillor Virginia Moran.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Nick Robbins.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Susan Sandal.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Ian Selby.
As she didn't get me vote for vice chair, she can have it for this. Helen Crawford.
Thank you. Councillor Jackie Smith. Councillor Mrs Judy Smith.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Judy Stevens.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Jill Thomas. I'm calling Councillor Thomas's name, but I do think she may have left the meeting. I'll take that as that she's left the meeting. Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Councillor Crawford.
Thank you. Councillor Sarah Trotter.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Dean Ward.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Hannah Westrop.
Councillor Crawford.
Councillor Hilary Westrop.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Amanda Wheeler.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Mark Whittington.
Helen Crawford.
Councillor Jane Wood.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Councillor Paul Wood.
Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Sue Woolley.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillor Linda Wotton.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
And Councillor Ray Wotton.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Thank you. If you could just bear with us, we'll now confirm numbers. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I have the results of that vote. there is 36 votes in support of Councillor Helen Crawford, 12 votes in support of Councillor Ashley Baxter and 1 abstention. Therefore, Councillor Helen Crawford is duly elected to onto the outside body of the Lincolnshire Flood and Water Management Scrutiny Committee. Thank you. If we go to the next one, which is the Well and Deeping Internal Drainage Board, I do think Councillor Baxter did have a question for the Leader of the Council on this one before we go to the vote.
All right. Councillor Baxter, if you'd like to ask the question.
Yes, it was simply what is the reason for choosing someone from Grantham to sit on the Welland Internal Drainage Board?
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. So initially, Jackie was proposed for this committee, this internal drainage board last year, and obviously the term of office is 3 years. Jackie has extensive experience dealing with the drainage boards, and I know that her experience and knowledge will be invaluable to serving this committee.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Therefore, Chairman, if I can just explain, we have 4 representatives on this outside body and we've got 5 nominations. So this is going to be quite a difficult process to go through. So we have the 5 nominations: Councillor Bob Broughton, Councillor Jackie Smith, Councillor Phil Dilks, Councillor Jill Thomas and Councillor Ashley Baxter. So we do need to go to a vote. So you can choose to either abstain, make 1, 2, 3 or 4 votes as each councillor. So you've got up to 4 votes. You can use all your 4 votes. We will make a record of all votes, and then we'll be able to conclude which of the 4 people with the highest majority have been elected onto the Welland and Deeping Internal Drainage Board.
All right. Okay. Right. So can we start?
So, Madam Chairman, if I can just, because obviously at the beginning of this, I did my recommendation as leader would be Councillor Bob Broughton, Councillor Jackie Smith, Councillor Phil Dilks, and Councillor Jill Thomas. Thank you.
Right. So,
Madam Chairman, I'd confirmed just to reassure the leader, there were the 4 names I'd put plus Councillor Ashley Baxter. So we have 5 nominations for 4 seats. That is why we need to go to the vote. Thank you. So as members, please, can you just confirm up to 4 names on each one of your votes, please, for the Welland and Deeping Internal Drainage Board. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now go through the names so that you can vote. Councillor Bob Adams.
Yes, thank you. Councillors Broughton, Phil Dilks, Councillor Jackie Smith and Councillor Jill Thomas.
Thank you. Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Broughton, Dilks, Thomas, Baxter.
Councillor Harish Bisnal Singh.
Councillor Broughton, Councillor Phil Dilks, Councillor Jackie Smith and Councillor Baxter.
Councillor Mrs Pam Bosworth.
Councillor Bob Broughton, Phil Dilks, Jackie Smith and Jill Thomas.
I'm just going to say
Councillor Bob Broughton.
Yes, Broughton, Thomas, Dilks and Smith.
Thank you. Councillor George Chivers.
Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Louise Clack.
Baxter, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Callum Cook.
Councillors Broughton, Councillor Dilks, Councillor Smith and Councillor Thomas.
Councillor John Cottier.
Councillor Broughton, Councillor Smith, Councillor Dix and Councillor Thomas.
Can I confirm, did you mean Councillor Phil Dilks?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Helen Crawford, sorry. I'm doing it now.
Phil Dilks, Councillor Jackie Smith and Councillor Jill Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John Dawson.
Bob Broughton, Phil Dilks, Jackie Smith and Jill Thomas.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Dilks.
Sorry, Chairman. Baxter, Councillor Broughton, myself and Jill Thomas.
Thank you. Councillor Barry Dobson.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Thomas and Dilks.
Councillor Mike Exton.
Councillor Dilks, Broughton, Jackie Smith and Jill Thomas.
Councillor Paul Fellows.
Just Dilks and Baxter, if I may.
Okay. Councillor Helen Gorrell.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Breda Griffin.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Jackie Smith and Jill Thomas.
Councillor Graham Gill.
Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Gloria Johnson.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Mrs Rosemary Cabery Brown.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Thomas and Dilks.
Councillor Jane Kingman.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Philip Knowles.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Thomas, beg your pardon, and Baxter.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Lee.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Penny Milnes.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Thomas and Baxter.
Sorry, could you just bear with me a second? Now I've turned my page, I want to make sure that I'm still on the right names so that I get all of this recorded correctly. Apologies. Councillor Penny Milnes, could you repeat that for me, please?
Yes, of course.
Oh, you've been muted now. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Thomas and Baxter.
Thank you. Councillor Virginia Moran.
Just Baxter and Dilks, please.
Okay. Councillor Charmaine Morgan.
Councillors Baxter, Dilks, Broughton and Thomas.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Thank you. Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas.
Councillor Nick Robbins.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Susan Sandal.
And Councillor Jackie Smith, Bob Broughton, Phil Dilks and Jill Thomas. Thank you.
Councillor Ian Selby.
Delighted to vote for Councillor Broughton, Jackie Smith, Phil Dilks, and as he didn't get me vote for the Lincolnshire Flood and Water Management, we'll have Councillor Baxter, and I hope I can vote for Councillor Thomas on something else. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackie Smith. Councillor Smith. Thank you. Just to confirm, Councillor Jackie Smith voted for Councillor Dilks and Broughton. I'm not sure if her microphone was working correctly. Councillor Mrs Judy Smith.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Just Baxter and Dilks, please.
Councillor Judy Stevens.
Councillor Broughton, Councillor Smith and Councillor Thomas, please.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Yeah, Councillor Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas.
Councillor Sarah Trotter.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas, please.
Councillor Dean Ward.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas. Thank you.
Councillor Hannah Westrop.
Councillors Thomas, Broughton, Smith and Dilks, please.
Thank you. Councillor Hilary Westrop.
Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas, please.
Councillor Amanda Wheeler.
Councillors Baxter and Dilks, please.
Councillor Mark Whittington.
Yeah, thank you. Councillors Broughton, Jackie Smith, Jill Thomas and Phil Dilks.
Thank you. Councillor Jane Wood.
Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Wood.
Okay, just Councillor Dilks and Councillor Baxter, please.
Councillor Sue Woolley.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas.
Councillor Linda Wootton.
Councillors Broughton, Dilks, Smith and Thomas, please.
And Councillor Ray Wootton.
It's Councillors Broughton, Smith, Dilks and Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could bear with us, please, we'll confirm numbers. As you can imagine, it may take a little longer this time. Thank you.
Perhaps we should have another twizzle.
Madam Chairman, well, just while Councillor Dilks is proposing a twizzle, could I just briefly propose that under section 4.6.4 of the Constitution, we have now exceeded 3 hours. Therefore, could I propose an additional hour to this meeting, please? And I know we'll have to wait until our Democratic Services staff have finished counting this ballot before we have that vote as well. If somebody would be happy to second for an additional hour.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Take that up, surely.
Can't sit here, it's just too...
Madam Chairman, I do have the results of the vote. If I go through the results of the vote, and then I'll be able to tell you who's duly elected to it. Councillor Bob Broughton, 42 votes. Councillor Jackie Smith, 37 votes. Councillor Phil Dilks, 48 votes. Councillor Jill Thomas, 40 votes. Councillor Ashley Baxter, 14 votes. Therefore, the 4 representatives for the Wellington Deeping Internal Drainage Board for South Casterband are Councillor Bob Broughton, Councillor Jackie Smith, Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Jill Thomas.
And Madam Chairman, if we could now go to the vote, please, to extend the meeting by 1 hour. I believe I called for that at just after, if we say 16:05, for 1 hour, please. I know that's been seconded.
Yes, yes. And we can't take it any longer than that because the room is needed to be vacuumed, vacated. Thank you. Pardon? So can we have a vote on that, please? The abstention and against is all that's needed to be reported. Okay. Yes. Yes, so that's, sorry.
Yeah, Madam Chair, then there's no abstentions or against on that vote.
Lovely, thank you very much. Right, so we can now go on to the Citizens Advice Bureau.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So we now have a vote on the South Casterband Citizens Advice Bureau. We have 3 seats on that outside body, and we have 5 nominations. And if I can confirm, the 5 nominations is Councillor Gloria Johnson, Councillor Linda Wotton, Councillor Annie Mason, Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Lee Steptoe. So again, Madam Chairman, we are going to have to go through the votes and we'll have Naomi call them. Each member will have up to 3 votes.
Madam Chairman, as group leader at the last one, I think I proposed Councillor Gloria Johnson, Councillor Linda Wotton and Councillor Annie Mason for these positions.
Right.
Madam Chairman, I wonder if I might just point out a point of information. Actually, Actually, the Citizens Advice Bureau is, I think I'm sure I'm right in saying it is not the South Casterband Citizens Advice Bureau. It is now known as the South Lincolnshire Citizens Advice Bureau. It has merged with South Holland. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely correct, Councillor Dilks.
So we need to change the name.
It's CASL Castle.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So if we can go to the vote, and if members confirm up to 3 people that they would like to vote for. Thank you. Naomi, can you go through the vote, please?
Thank you. Councillor Bob Adams.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton, Mason.
Councillor Ashley Baxter.
Mason, Dilks, Steptoe.
Councillor Harish Bisnath Singh.
Councillor Johnson, Phil Dilks, Councillor Steptoe.
Councillor Mrs Pam Bosworth.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor Bob Broughton.
Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor George Chivers.
Councillors Johnson, Linda Wotton and Annie Mason.
Councillor Louise Clack.
Johnson, Mason and Dilks.
Councillor Callum Cook.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor John Cottier.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor Helen Crawford.
Councillors Johnson, Mason and Wotton. Thank you.
Councillor John Dawson.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor Phil Dilks.
Councillors Steptoe and myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barry Dobson.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor Mike Exton.
Councillor Johnston, Linda Wotton and Annie Mason.
Councillor Paul Fellows.
Dilks and Steptoe, please.
Councillor Helen Gorrell.
Mason, Wotton and Johnson.
Councillor Breda Griffin.
Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor Graham Gill.
Johnson, Wotton, Mason.
Councillor Gloria Johnson.
Johnson, Wotton and Mason.
Councillor Mrs Rosemary Cabery Brown.
Excuse me, Johnson, Wotton and Mason, please.
Councillor Jane Kingman.
Johnson, Mason and Wotton.
Councillor Philip Knowles.
Dilks and Steptoe, please.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Lee.
Yes, I will vote for Councillors Johnson, Wotton, Mason.
Thank you. Councillor Penny Milnes.
Wotton, Mason, Dilks.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Virginia Moran.
Sorry, couldn't make my trackpad work. Dilks, Steptoe and Mason, please.
Thank you. Councillor Dr Peter Mosley.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason, please.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Councillors Johnson, Wotton and Mason, please.
Excuse me, you missed me out.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councillor Morgan. Yeah, sorry, can I take your vote now, please?
Yes, Councillor Dilks and Steptoe.
Apologies for that. Councillor Nick Robbins. Councillor Robbins.
It looks like Councillor Robbins may not be in the meeting currently, so we'll try and get him back online.
Thank you. Councillor Susan Sandal.
Councillor Gloria Johnson, Annie Mason and Linda Wotton.
Councillor Ian Selby.
Councillor Annie Mason, Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Lee Steptoe, please. Thank you.
Councillor Jackie Smith. Thank you. Councillor Mrs. Judy Smith.
Councillor Johnson, Annie Mason and Linda Wootton. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Dilks and Steptoe, please.
Councillor Judy Stevens.
Councillors Mason, Wootton and Johnson, please. Thank you.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Councillors Johnson, Wootton and Mason.
Councillor Ian Stokes.
Councillors Johnson, Wootton and Mason.
Councillor Jill Thomas is not currently in the meeting. Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Councillors Johnson, Wootton and Mason.
Councillor Sarah Trotter.
Councillors Johnson, Mason and Wootton, please.
Councillor Dean Ward.
Councillors Gloria Johnson, Linda Wootton, Annie Mason, please.
Councillor Hannah Westrop.
Councillors Johnson, Linda Wootton and Mason, please.
Councillor Hilary Westrop.
Councillors Wootton, Johnson and Mason, please.
Councillor Amanda Wheeler.
Councillors Johnson, Dilks and Steptoe, please.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Whittington.
Councillors Johnson, Linda Wootton and Mason.
Councillor Jane Wood.
Councillor Phil Dilks and Councillor Lee Steptoe.
Councillor Paul Wood.
Dilks and Steptoe, please.
Councillor Sue Woolley.
Councillors Johnson, Mason and Wootton.
Councillor Linda Wootton.
Councillors Johnson, Wootton and Mason.
And Councillor Ray Wootton.
Councillors Johnson, Wootton and Mason.
Thank you. As before, we'll just confirm numbers. It may just take a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, can I just ask that Councillor Nick Robbins had lost his connection, but he's come back on through the voting. So can we go? Can we just get to him then, please?
Just bear with me a second. I'm just locating Councillor Robbins. Yes, Councillor Robbins, can you confirm your vote?
Yeah, Councillors Johnson, Wootton and Mason. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do it too, can you?
Good gracious. Have you got a leg left? Oh. Goodness. You'll get. Madam Chairman, Thank you. Hello, I do have the results of the vote. If I can go to the results of the vote and then come back to who will be elected by South Casterband District Council onto the Citizens Advice Bureau for South Lincolnshire. Councillor Gloria Johnson, 38 votes. Councillor Linda Wotton, 36 votes. Councillor Annie Mason, 40 votes. Councillor Phil Dilks, 14 votes. Councillor Lee Steptoe, 12 votes. Therefore, Councillor Gloria Johnson, Councillor Linda Wotton and Councillor Annie Mason are duly elected onto the Citizens Advice Bureau for South Lincolnshire. Thank you. Right, I'll put that on there. Okay then, so now we go on to agenda item 12. The next item before Council is the Amended Budget 2020-21. I would like to invite the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources to present the report.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that. So as a result of the COVID-19 crisis, there is a requirement to amend the budget framework to reflect the changes in the income and expenditure budget set by the Council on the 2nd of March 2020. So the amended proposals in front of you were discussed in detail at the Budget Joint OSC on the 28th of August, and members were supportive of the proposed amendments. Cabinet then considered the proposals and feedback from the Budget Joint OSC on the 8th of September as recommending them today for approval. The amended budget proposals also includes a market supplement to our waste operatives and operational line street scene staff up to the 31st of March 2021, as set out at paragraph 1.3 of the report. This was an additional recommendation made by the Cabinet on the 8th of September. The amended budget proposals currently project a deficit of 1.3 million, but the report sets out a number of interventions and actions the Cabinet will oversee in order to mitigate the impact on the Council's budget stabilisation reserve. And that reserve currently has 2.843 million allocated to it. The financial situation will continue to be kept under close review during the remainder of this financial year, and I know that we'll continue to go back to FEDCO with reports as we progress. And the report also sets out the proposed criteria for the government's fees and charges reimbursement scheme. Based on this scheme, the criteria, the Council will be seeking a reimbursement of 1.4 million against an overall income loss of 3.1 million. The difference reflects the exclusion of specific income streams, such as rental income, the offsetting of associated expenditure, and the requirement for the Council to absorb 25% of the loss. So what I'm asking for Council today, the recommendations are, at number 1, the Council is asked to approve an increase to the salary and member allowances budget of an additional 0.75% in order to meet the National Pay Agreement for 2021 of 2.75 and to implement the additional 0.75 increase from April 2020. 2, the Council is asked to approve the budget amendments for the 2021 budget framework. 3, Council is asked to approve the use of the budget stabilisation reserve in the event of a balanced position cannot be achieved by the 31st of March 2021. And 4, Council is asked to approve the capital allocation of 100,000 to undertake refurbishment and modernisation improvement works at the Stamford Arts Centre. And that's all I've got. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I invite Councillor Dr. Mosley to second the proposal.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Yes, I'm delighted to second this budget proposal for 2020-21. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Adam and his team for all of the hard work that they've obviously put in, bearing in mind the difficult circumstances that we found ourselves in this year. The game is certainly not over in that respect, and I have a lot of confidence in the fact that no matter what is put in front of us, we will come through this. So on that note, I'll leave it up for debate, but I'm happy to second this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I've got Councillor Ashley Baxter who wants to speak.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask, on the final sheet, the capital programme for building houses, there's a figure in there of £12 million for spend this year. So far this year, and I'd ask Councillor Stokes to put me right if I'm wrong, so far this year the Council has only completed 18 houses, which were single build modular units. Given that firstly, as far as I'm aware, the Council hasn't got planning permission for any more houses yet, this year? And secondly, the council has recently paid off senior managers responsible for property and housing. Is it realistic that we will spend that £12 million in this financial year?
Could I ask you to reply?
Yes, I'll pass this over to Councillor Reid, who's obviously that's his portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yes, this question has been put to me before, and we are on track to certainly be committed to some further expenditure. It won't be all of it, but owing to COVID restrictions, I refuse to lose any energies whatsoever in promoting the best build out I can within these difficult times. Thank you.
Could I ask Charmaine Morgan to speak?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would just like to say the very fact that we're in this position now speaks volumes about what's happening at government level and its impact on councils across the country. And certainly some of the issues that we're facing are not of local making, but have come from on high. What concerns me regarding the budget is its long-term sustainability, in particular when we consider the commercial economic environment and our increasing dependence on a commercial activity in order to make ends meet. And that's very much been driven by government policy and the funding that's been awarded to local authorities. There are elements within this which I think we must all be grateful for, including, for example, the continuation of the £1,000 community pot. I know that there are people in our communities and organisations desperate for help at this critical time. I'd also like to thank the council for the support it gave to the defibrillator programme, which was approved and supported in the previous budget. I have got some general. The trouble is, I could spend about half an hour going through all of the points that I have. But something I think we do need to be mindful of is the fact there are so many other things happening outside the council's control. Just how realistic is it that we will be in a position to, in effect, fall into the budget figures here? My feeling is, for example, even planning, whatever our plans are there, and we've mentioned the corporate plan was mentioned earlier, we know full well that the NPPF is about to change. We're going to have new targets. That's going to hit us. How much in reality is this change costing our council in terms of resources? I'd just like to have an appreciation of what we may have had to set aside with regarding that alone. I'll leave it at that. I've got other questions I can put separately.
Okay, can we got anybody to answer? Could I ask Richard Wiles to answer?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In terms of the commercial element that Councillor Morgan refers to, actually our exposure on the commercial element is significantly less than a number of authorities, because our portfolio isn't massively exposed from the commercial perspective. And indeed, if you look at Appendix A, which lists out our high risk budget areas, you'll see our commercial element only accounts for about 15% of our overall fees and charge exposure. So actually we are well placed to deal with any commercial volatility, and that's not the same for a number of authorities that have invested heavily in commercial ventures such as hotels, airports, car parks, from a commercial perspective. So the government have actually recognised that commercial element is something local councils will need to deal with, and as Councillor Stokes said in his introduction, the government isn't going to reimburse councils for any commercial losses they may suffer, and indeed it's outside scope of their reimbursement scheme. But this council is well placed to absorb that exposure due to its prudent approach to commercial activity. In respect of the planning elements, I'll probably just hand over to Paul Thomas to respond to that. Thank you.
Paul Thomas not here?
Apologies. Apologies, Chair. Can you hear me? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, Councillor Morgan makes a really good point about the pressure that the changes to the planning white paper might put on resources, but I'm pleased to say that we've anticipated that, and that we've always been planning for delivering a high quality planning service through the recent planning review that's been commissioned. So I look forward to briefing all members, and particularly Councillor Morgan, on what our plans are as soon as we've got that review back. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Could I have Councillor Mark Whittington, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm very happy to vote in favour of this amended budget. You know, I'm Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee, and I'm been an accountant for 35 years. And what has impressed me during the past few months is I must give it a lot of praise to Richard Wiles and the rest of his finance team. You know, they worked out a budget for this year, and all the assumptions behind that, well, a lot of assumptions behind that, were then being challenged by the impact of COVID, and they had to address a lot of issues and concerns that the Finance Committee had regarding financial risk and potential issues around cash flows and all kinds of other things, at the same time as they were trying to close down the annual accounts for the last financial year, which I know from personal experience is always a very difficult and traumatic and challenging time. So I just want to really pay a big thanks and appreciate all the hard work that Richard and his team have done. It is very, very difficult. Richard and his team have brought a number of papers to the past 3 or 4 meetings of the Finance Committee, which have largely addressed a lot of our concerns around the question of financial risk and impact on our cash flow by the loss and reduction of income. The amended budget proposals again have been through the FedCo and also the budget, the joint budget overview and scrutiny meeting. And I think the good news to come out from this really is that yes, we are looking at a potential deficit of up to £1.3 million, but the cabinet and the senior officers are going to be looking to mitigate that. But we have a budget reserve of £2.8 billion. And the reason we have reserved £2.8 million is because of sound financial management that this council has followed over a number of years. You know, there are 2 important accountancy concepts: one of prudence and also of going concern. And the going concern principle is really important here, because it says you don't just deal in the next year. You look at how you're going to survive as an organisation on an ongoing basis, which is why you build up reserves to cover situations like this. I mean, 12 months ago, nobody could have seen COVID-19 and the pandemic and the impact coming down the tracks. But the reason why organisations keep reserves is for this very, very reason, and I think it's amply exemplifies the sound financial management that has been in place by both this administration and previous administrations, that we are in a position where we can actually, if the worst case scenario happens and we do have a £1.3 million short for this year, we can support it. Hopefully it won't be nowhere near as high as that if the mitigation proposals work. So really, Madam Chairman, it's not great that COVID's happened. I don't think any organisation, every organisation in the country has been challenged. but our team have demonstrated to me very, very good sound financial judgment and management and planning. We have reserves, and the good news is to residents of South Casterband is we can manage this and there won't be any customer services. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. And I think we'll have to have as our last one, Councillor Philip Knowles.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I will be supporting the amended budget, and perhaps I should thank Richard Wiles and his staff for the work they must have had to put in to produce this. Just a thought on the £2 million that we've got in reserve. If we'd got the savings that we planned in the last financial year, there'd be £3 million, but we'll leave that to one side. As those who attended the virtual budget consideration meeting for overview committee members a few weeks ago may recall, the budget for capital expenditure that was in Appendix E recorded a reduction in expenditure of £70,000 on the renovation of Bourne Corn Exchange. You may recall that I challenged this quite robustly at the time. The expenditure shown for the 2021 budget at that meeting was shown as the expenditure budget as 168,000, with a forecast expenditure of 98,000, 70,000 less, with a comment that that 70,000 would be donated to Stamford Arts Centre. This was the only capital project with a reduction in capital spend that was proposed, not, as the local paper said, one of the only capital reductions. However, I am pleased now to note in the budget programme now that the £70,000 has been restored, and the expenditure on the Corn Exchange will be £168,000. This is still 70 grand below the original plan, which was announced with a great fanfare by Councillor Cook's predecessor, but discussion had predicated that reduced level of anticipated expenditure. May I thank those responsible for this change of heart and a U-turn, and may I thank in particular Richard Wiles, who contacted me by phone shortly after the meeting that I referred to indicate that my protestations had prompted him to revisit the issue when he discovered that things weren't as quiet as he felt they should be, and that the numbers in that previous document were incorrect. May I also thank Councillor Trollope-Bellew, who subsequently surprised me with details of the work that was to be undertaken. I'm very grateful for that. Thanks very much indeed. However, I was disappointed to find out that she had sent a document on August the 6th about the discussions of the Corn Exchange. It was sent on August 6th to Councillor Reid and to all the other Conservative members on Bourne for SKDC, but it did not include the independent members for Bourne. It's clear that, to paraphrase George Orwell, all members are equal, but some are more equal than others. Thanks very much indeed for all those who've helped bring this about, and I will support the amended budget. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Charmaine Morgan who wants to ask a further question, if it can be pretty succinct, because I'm aware of the time, although she has already spoken once. So I think perhaps looking at the time factor, perhaps otherwise we won't get all these other things in. So I may have to leave that, Councillor Morgan, sorry, but looking at the time structure, we haven't got time for it. Perhaps you can put it in writing. Okay, so I think now then I need to call on Councillor Stokes. Would you like to sum up?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Let me put me. No, I'd just like to send this to the vote and thank everyone for their comments, especially Councillor Whittington and Councillor Knowles as well. It's a challenging year, and it will continue to be a challenging year, but we will make sure that we do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. It is my intention that we will once again vote by exception. Please indicate in the chat box if you do not support the proposition by typing against or abstain. We'll give you a minute to do this. we'll vote to keep it. We'll say yes to what they've done. Okay.
Come on, mate.
Madam Chairman, you've had 2 abstentions on this paper on the amended budget. Therefore, the vote is carried. I've had somebody with a placard tell me to moot or unmoot. So agenda item 13, updates from the Leader of the Council. We have 2 items which are updates from the Leader. The first item relates to decisions that have been made under provisions. All right, well, I'm going to carry on with this bit. I would first like to call on Councillor Cook to take you through these decisions, which are set out at agenda item 13A for clarity. This report and the decisions within it are for noting only.
Madam Chairman, thank you for continuing. However, there is a point of order that obviously needs to be taken before I speak. Thank you.
Yes, it's just I've got going. Oops, over there. So could I have Councillor Ashley Baxter, please?
Thank you. My point of order is, unless the Leader is confident that his item will be very quick, I'd like to propose that item 13 be moved to the end of the agenda in order to permit members' questions and members' motions. Members haven't been able to ask an open question since March, and at least one of the motions, my motion, was submitted in April. So I think it's reasonable that we expect that we allow these issues to be discussed.
Madam Chairman, if I can just say, unless Councillor Baxter, you have extensive questions on Appendixes 1 and 2 of the non-key decisions, then I propose we just take these very quickly and move then on to members' open questions. Therefore, if I may, Madam Chairman, if we move on to the item
13A.
13A, yes. So of course it's just noting the contents of this report. So obviously there was 2 taken. The South Casterband annual position statement, which was obviously an urgent non-key decision taken by the Cabinet Member for Housing and Planning, and then obviously our Chief Executive has also been busy making decisions as well in relation to the delegation to Lincolnshire County Council. I don't believe there's any further discussion required on these.
No, we've got only that applies to agenda item 13B too. Right.
Thank you.
So now we go on to agenda item.
Oh, sorry, Madam Chairman. There is so if we move on to agenda item 13B.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I think I've just interrupted you.
So if you would like to, I'd now like to draw members' attention to the report attached as agenda item 13B, which I'll ask the Leader to take you through. Please be mindful if you wish to refer specifically to any of the exempt papers. If you do wish to refer to anything on these pages, we will need to move into exempt session. Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So obviously the minutes of the Cabinet meetings held on the 7th of July and 18th of August are here for noting the approved minutes of the Cabinet meetings. And I believe we have a few questions in the chat function.
Could I ask, sorry, Councillor Phil Dilks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'll be brief, but these are important things. Yeah, I've got a question to the Deputy Leader and it follows the question I put to you, Councillor Dobson, at the Cabinet on the 7th of July. Paragraph 112 on page 85 refers. Thank you and our Head of Leisure Services, Karen Whitfield, for the information you were able to share with Deepings Ward councillors last week regarding the proposed new Deepings Leisure Centre at a meeting organised and hosted by Deepings St James Parish Council. I appreciate that some of the information is not yet in the public domain, but may I give you this opportunity to say what you can now about where we are with the long-awaited plans, and in particular, could you say why the rather limited Academy School field is the current favoured site, and whether, given the £20 million budget you've announced for the new leisure centre, it might be desirable to consider acquiring adjoining farmland, either for the entire project or at least for car parking, to avoid any potential loss of existing sports pitches. If I might say, we all want the new leisure centre tomorrow, but we must get it right this time and not solve one problem by creating another. Or what I think I'm trying to say in old money is, let's not spoil the ship for a ha'porth of tar. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Councillor Dukes. Yes, and you will be privileged, I think, this evening that we have another meeting with Deeping St James. I'm not sure whether I'm going to answer all your questions in order or all of them, so if I do miss out anything, please let me know. As I explained to you at the Cabinet meeting where you were, the immediate concern is getting the 3G pitch in. Which we are hopefully going to resolve this evening as to where that's going and whether it can go there. We have got the outline plans, as I showed the Parish Council meeting last week, or 2 weeks ago, wasn't it now, that it's
I think.
Has it gone off?
There are just some technical difficulties that we're just trying to address.
Mr. Leader, while we're dealing with these technical difficulties, could I ask for a review to take place of the software we are using? We had a training meeting yesterday for Planning Committee, and I think virtually the first hour was taken up in trying to resolve connectivity problems, and this seems to be getting more and more prevalent. I wonder if there is a case to be made for looking at the alternatives of either Zoom or Teams or whatever else is in the market.
That is a very valid point, Councillor Adams. I understand that Skype for Business is going out of contract with Microsoft, and we will be looking to move on to a different provider as soon as possible. And I know the Chief Executive personally is looking at that.
The sooner the better, Kellen.
Chair, through you, while Councillor Dobson is sorting himself out, can I ask Callum Cook in relation to the same meeting that Phil Dilks referred to? About a week and a half ago, Councillor Cook promised a meeting with Deepings councillors about the leisure centre, to which he said that all relevant officers would be invited. Can I ask whether that meeting is likely to take place? Some kind of a timescale?
I didn't.
Oh, sorry. I'll just finish this one, Barry, and then thank you,
okay.
Councillor Baxter. There is going to be an all members briefing actually on leisure, so not just the members of the Deepings, but all councillors will benefit from an update, and all members are invited. And should they wish to attend, we'll be discussing the Deepings and all the other leisure activities across the district.
So you're not having a meeting just with the Deepings about the Deepings Leisure Centre?
If you remember, I mentioned about a meeting, a specific meeting to do with the councillors around the Deepings area, because obviously there are other members within the South Lincolnshire that are expressly interested.
You mentioned Keswick Ward, yes.
Yes, and we will be having that, but we'll also be having an all councillors briefing as well.
Okay, so the meeting.
All members will receive the same information at both meetings.
Thank you.
Right, I'm back on. Councillor Dilks. Phil, are you still there?
Yes, Barry, thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know how far before my machine decided that it didn't want to know anything anymore. Where was I? Or where did I get up to?
You'd barely started, to be honest, Barry.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to be quite quick because we've got about 10 minutes left. But as I said, there is other land available. Which we heard that the farmers adjacent to the existing pitch, the area, sports area, are going to be willing to sell at a reasonable price. And this could be the site of another grass pitch or maybe another artificial pitch on which the present one, where sports that can't play on the present one could be put into. That's going to be further down the line. It was chosen, that site was chosen very much because of the school. We're taking the leisure centre away from the school, and although they're going to put in their own gym there, their own leisure centre, their own centre, we will be offering the swimming facility, of course. It seemed like the best arrangement because county own or through the school, as we learned, that's quite complicated, but it is going to be, it is a solvable problem.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Councillor
sorry.
Dobson. I know at the Cabinet meeting, I think the other day, you gave a very extensive and comprehensive response
Yeah.
to Councillor Dilks to these questions. And
Yeah.
obviously, we will be organising an all-members
Yeah.
meeting in October, where
Yeah.
all of these items and other items will be discussed. And
Yeah, but I was just going to ask, thanks very much, Leader. All I was going to say was that, you know, that was chosen because of its site and its location. And we've worked on that. If we have to go somewhere else, then I'm afraid it would all be delayed. So we are going to, as Councillor Cook has just said, whilst I was trying to get my machine going up, that we will have an all-councillor briefing. So I hope that answers you.
Can I cut in
can I just say
there,
thank you?
please?
And-
Because we are now, if we can just say, yes, we have finished item or agenda 13, these questions can then go into members' open questions and be resolved in that situation. We haven't got an awful lot of time, 6 minutes left of the proposed hour-long extension. So can we now go on to item 14? Thank you. As members, open questions, and that could, and so could I have Councillor Lee Steptoe, please?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Could I ask Councillor Cook if he could give a latest update on the implications for SKDC of potential local government reorganisation, please? Also, can he just...
one question.
Sorry, okay, I've asked
Only
a
one
question. Can he update on the impact on us of local government reorganisation?
Yes, that'd be lovely. Right, could I have an answer, please?
Thank you, Councillor Stepp. So at the present time, obviously the government is still pushing forwards with its local government reorganisation and devolution agenda. We are still awaiting the white paper that will be published this autumn. As you all know, the leader of the County Council sent a letter to the Secretary of State asking to start the process for reorganisation in Lincolnshire. To date, and in my own knowledge, we haven't yet received a letter to start the process to bid for a new structure. So obviously we are still awaiting a letter from the Secretary of State.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Could I call Councillor Paul Wood?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Yeah,
Questions?
my questions to Councillor Dr. Peter Mosley. Fen Lane, Long Bennington. There's an ongoing problem with activity
Used to unmute.
at Fen Lane in Long Bennington. The residents at Fen Lane constantly have to put up with toxic smoke from fires burning on a waste tip. It's a illegal waste tip, and despite various agencies' involvement, including the Environment Agency, Lincolnshire County Council and SKD, the problems continue. Would Councillor Dr. Peter Mosley please ensure that SKDC give this matter emergent attention? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wood, for your question. I am very well aware of the issue at Long Bennington with regards to the illegal waste site there. As you know, we've been working with the Environment Agency, and they are the enforcing authority on this site in respect of the waste disposal activity, and we've been working with them to provide evidence of activities. The site owners appealed the waste removal notices served by the Environment Agency. The directions hearing about these appeals is in fact today, and the EA are preparing an update for the community which will be provided later today, or actually after today. Lincolnshire Police have increased their monitoring of the site for breaches of restriction order, which prevents access to the site. Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue have been monitoring the site for a deep-seated flare-up from the waste, and there is some smouldering from within the soil. We do understand that at least one fire has been on adjacent land, which is not subject to the restriction order. As it is illegal for businesses to burn most types of waste, the Environment Agency continue to monitor and will ensure that everyone on the site outside of the restriction order boundary is aware of their responsibilities regarding the correct disposal of waste. And of course, I will make sure that our teams involve themselves properly in this process, as we have been from the start, Paul.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Selby.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Question to Councillor Dr. Peter Mosley. It is very frustrating, whilst during the COVID-19 period, the County Council have put such strict and harsh restrictions on residents wishing to use the recycling centres. For example, anybody who only has a small car with a small boot, or possibly no boot, therefore uses a trailer to carry items, can only attend the recycling centre on 2 days a week with a trailer, and there are restrictions with the size of the trailer. Residents also have to book a slot, which makes things difficult, and other restrictions on what items you can take on specific days. So is there any wonder that these restrictions would encourage people to undertake the disgraceful act of fly tipping in either rural or urban areas, and it therefore becomes an expensive cost to our district council that has to clean up this mess? If you agree with me, what measures can we take to highlight to the county council our disapproval of these unhelpful restrictions? Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Selby, for your question. I've got to say, I mean, obviously, during the height of the lockdown, it was quite understandable that that some of the facilities that the county council provided in terms of waste and recycling were shut. However, we have in fact moved considerably on from there, and it is a source of disappointment to me that we are still in a place whereby there are restrictions to the waste that people can take on varying days of the week to various household waste recycling centres. To give you some idea of what we have in fact done, at the last Lincolnshire Waste Partnership, I mentioned the fact of the booking system to household waste recycling centres and the impact that that might have on fly tipping. The discussion there at that particular time was that nobody believed there would be an impact of it. I am still not convinced. I have in fact already written again to the executive member for environment at Lincolnshire County Council, urging them to fully open their household waste recycling centres to encourage people to come and bring their waste and dispose of it properly. After all, if we can open up pubs so people can go and drink on a Friday night, I think a council should be able to open up its facilities safely so that everybody can participate in the statutory duty that they require from their council. I will promise, however, Councillor Selby, to take this matter once again to the next Lincolnshire Waste Partnership meeting at the end of this month for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Could I have Councillor Judy Stevens, please?
What the hell is going on? Can you hear me? I can't. I've just lost.
No.
Does the leader agree with me that following the disrespectful behaviour of Councillor Virginia Moran at our last full council meeting, in which she called me a witch, that she now gives a full apology for this behaviour to this full council this afternoon?
Thank you, Judy. Well, look, when I became leader, I said that what I didn't like was any comments related to personal individuals on a personal basis. I know there's been an independent investigation and the report has found that. So yes, of course, and if the councillor is on, then I would happily invite her now to apologise in public to all members of the council for what she called you at the last meeting.
Yes, I've got the white in the fridge.
Don't know. What is it? Is she there? What's her name? I know the surname is Moran. Have we got Virginia Moran? Well, doesn't look like there's any response. No. I'll leave that with you, Councillor.
I think it's very disappointing, but we are where we are on that one. Madam Chairman, it is now nearly 5:05, and we did propose an extension of 1 hour. That time is now up, so I'm not proposing an extension. So if somebody else does want to, then obviously they are welcome to, but I will not be supporting that. So I believe that all the other items for the rest of the agenda will be put onto the next council agenda, if that's correct, Madam Chief Executive.
Madam Chairman, this is very important. I would like to put a question, ask the leader.
Nothing. I know you want to ask me a question about the Stamford Medical Centre. I'm happy to have a conversation with you outside this meeting, but we have now finished on the time constraint, so I can email you a response to your question to all councillors and have a conversation with you over the phone.
And that can apply to any other member who's actually got a name on the list for the members' open questions, if they too would like to contact the leader to get a reply. Thank you very much indeed.
Point of order before we close the meeting, Madam Chairman.
Pardon?
May I give a point of order, Madam Chairman?
I'm afraid the meeting's over.
Not quite. It's not been declared over.
Yes, it has. The leader has just said it is declaring.
Well, Madam Chairman,
It's not in charge of the meeting. The leader.
Shush. Let's stop it.
The chair is in charge of the meeting.
Quiet.
And closes the meeting, not the leader.
Madam Chairman, I know you're looking at me. Obviously, a member can propose to extend this meeting, or the meeting finishes and the existing items then go on to the next agenda. But we have now exceeded the time limit, therefore the meeting will come to a close unless somebody proposes an extension.
I have asked for a point of order which takes precedence over everything.
Well,
if you'll allow the chair to chair the meeting, Callum, I would like to propose an extension to the meeting of half an hour, and I would like to explain the reasons for that proposal.
I'll second that.
I'm very sorry, but we won't be able to do that for half an hour.
Allow a point of order.
If you just say the point of order now, and then we'll get a reply back to you from then. But I'm sorry, the meeting has gone on already, and we are now needing to close.
And I am raising a point of order.
Would you just 1 moment, just hush. Would you just point your question towards the monitor officer, and she will take your point of order.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I understood the point of order. There's been a proposal that the meeting be extended for half an hour. That's been seconded. That really should be put to the vote before you close the meeting.
I haven't explained the reasons.
Yeah, Councillor Baxter, you can explain the reasons. Please, if you could do it succinctly.
I would like to propose an extension of half an hour, because since March, we have been waiting for questions to the Cabinet and for motions to the Council which have not been discussed, and this is because the incumbent Cabinet and leader are frightened of public scrutiny and will do everything in their power to avoid anyone asking any awkward questions.
It's because you keep wasting time, actually, that's why.
In this council is a disgrace.
Shh. Oh my God.
So I go by what you say, Shaheen.
Yes, Madam Chairman, if you want to take a vote, it can be a vote by exception. So perhaps if
So anyone against would have to mark in the chat box that they're against the proposal for an extension.
Madam Chairman, actually, it might be easier just to do it the other way around. Perhaps if we could have a vote for whether there is an extension or not.
Madam Chairman, the monitoring officer is presupposing the outcome of the vote.
Not at all, Madam Chairman. I think I confused myself. I think
she has just tried to give you two options. Looking at the first option could be a little more complicated than the second. So perhaps it would be easier to go with the second option, so there was no complications and we got a true vote.
Here, well said.
Sorry, are you sticking to what has happened throughout the meeting, or are we changing the rules for the last minute?
Ashley, be quiet and let's just get on with it, shall we? Goodness sake. Here, here, Jane.
Yeah, well said, Jane.
Right. Shall we take...
You get to tell me what to do.
Excuse me, we don't need any of this at the end of a meeting. Unfortunately, we have a lot to get through. We are trying to work very quickly with the time. It doesn't always mean that we get through. So this is a compromise to see what we can do. But we are very limited, and I don't know about half an hour. I think we've only got a quarter of an hour to go.
Madam Chairman, we are up with time, and I'm happy with the second option that the monitoring officer proposed. If you were willing to support that,
we'll do that, and we'll go from there. See what the result is. You reconfirm.
Madam Chairman, then I think what we're doing is voting on the proposal to extend time for half an hour, as proposed by Councillor Baxter. Naomi could do the roll call, please.
Yeah, sorry, I can do a... So can I confirm that I'm doing a roll call?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bob Adams?
Reluctantly against.
No, we're not. Madam Chairman, can I
Sorry.
just confirm we don't need to do a roll call? We can do a vote by exception. The monitoring officer has confirmed in the chat that it's a vote for an extension. Members have started to vote. Councillor Clack has, Councillor Morgan has, Councillor Steptoe, Dilks and Councillor Wood have all voted in support of an extension. We now therefore just need to keep with the exception voting system that we've adopted.
Yes.
So if we can ask members to continue to use the exception voting. Sorry, Councillor Wheeler, I hadn't seen yours. So Councillor Wheeler's also voted. So if we can then add that up, please.
We'll just send it.
John Dawson's looking younger.
How are we going to get it?
The makeover's worn off, John.
It's those new hormone pills. How do I get the voting?
I cannot keep up with the voting.
I can't get the alphabet.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. There you go.
Where are we? Okay.
Sounded like Benny Milnes, that did.
Members of council, you don't need to vote against the proposal. You just need to confirm if you're in support of. That way, it will be the voting by exception.
I think actually,
I think
if I may, Chief Exec, a number of members have left the meeting, so it's very, very difficult to know the total number of members still actually present at this meeting. So I think we do need to have a formal for and against, so we know the actual numbers, because otherwise we're making assumptions as to how many people are still in the meeting, which we don't know. So I do think we need a proper a proper for or against vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Whittington, and I'm quite happy to take that suggestion forward. Councillor Lee had also asked to speak, but if Councillor Lee doesn't want to further speak, therefore, Madam Chairman, if there is confusion around the number of people still on the call, I'll ask Naomi to go to a vote.
Right.
Thank you. I'll now go through the roll call. If you could just confirm if you're for or against, please. Councillor Bob Adams?
Against.
Councillor Ashley Baxter?
For.
Councillor David Bellamy? Oh, sorry, we've had apologies from Councillor Bellamy. Councillor Harris Bisnath-Singh?
For.
Councillor Mrs Pam Bosworth?
Against.
Councillor Bob Broughton?
He's
Gone.
left.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor George Chivers?
He's gone.
Thank you. Councillor Louise Clack?
For.
Councillor Callum Cook?
Against.
Councillor John Cottier?
Against.
Councillor Helen Crawford?
Against.
Councillor John Dawson?
Against.
Councillor Phil Dilks? Councillor Dilks?
Sorry, I said for.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No
Councillor
problem.
Barry Dobson?
Against.
Councillor Mike Exton?
Against.
Councillor Paul Fellows?
For.
Councillor Helen Gorrell?
Against.
Councillor Breda Griffin? I believe Councillor Jan Hansen has left the meeting. Councillor Graham Gill?
Against.
Councillor Gloria Johnson?
Against.
Councillor Mrs Rosemary Cabery Brown?
Against.
Councillor Jane Kingman?
Against.
Councillor Philip Knowles?
For.
Councillor Matthew Lee?
Matthew Lee's just been told that the meeting has ended on his system, so he's trying to rejoin at the moment.
Oh, okay, thank you. Councillor Penny Milnes?
Against.
Councillor Virginia Moran?
I'm sorry, I've only just managed to get sound on the meeting. What are we voting for?
We're voting to extend the
Say
meeting.
against.
We're voting to extend the meeting for a further 30 minutes, whether you are for or against.
Oh, yes, yeah, for.
Thank you. Councillor Charmaine Morgan?
For.
Councillor Dr Peter Mosley?
Against.
Councillor Robert Reid?
Not frightened. Against.
Councillor Nick Robbins?
Against.
Councillor Susan Sandal?
Against.
Councillor Ian Selby?
Against.
Councillor Jackie Smith? Councillor Mrs Judy Smith?
Against.
Councillor Lee Steptoe?
For.
Councillor Judy Stevens?
Against.
Councillor Adam Stokes?
Against.
Councillor Ian Stokes?
Reluctantly against. We should have started this at 10 a.m.
Thank you. I believe Councillor Jill Thomas has left the meeting. Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew?
Against.
Councillor Sarah Trotter?
Against.
I believe Councillor Dean Ward has left the meeting. Councillor Hannah Westrop?
Against.
Councillor Hilary Westrop?
Against.
Councillor Amanda Wheeler?
For.
Councillor Mark Whittington?
Against.
Councillor Jane Wood?
She's left the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Wood?
I'm for it. It's a pity we can't get to discuss these motions.
Thank you. Councillor Sue Woolley?
Against.
Councillor Linda Wootton?
Against.
And Councillor Ray Wootton?
Against.
Thank you. If you could just bear with us a second and we'll...
Judy Stevens, your mic is on.
Madam Chairman, the results of the vote are back. For extending the meeting, there's a vote of 11. Against extending the meeting is a vote of 32, and there was 1 abstention. So therefore, the result is for not to extend the meeting, for the meeting to be closed. But that's with yourself, Chairman. Right, following the results of that vote, 11 for, 32 against, then obviously we have to go with the majority, and we close the meeting now. Thank you. Thank you very much for attending and everybody giving a lot of support.